What is going on, lovely people? We are Tottenham TV here, and the circus is in full swing. The clowns are out in their numbers, and Antonio Conte is set to depart Tottenham, apparently in the next 24 to 48 hours. And we're at that time again of the year, aren't we, Sim?
That's what happens every 18 months. We get a new manager, people. Can't wait. Can't wait for Ryan Mason to take charge of this sinking ship. And we'll see where we go from here. Obviously, look, Conte was always going to... Look, we all knew when Conte was appointed, this was probably going to be the likely scenario and the likely ending to the situation, because it always ends like this with someone like Antonio Conte with charge. But usually, it ends like this after winning a few trophies. But... Not when it's at Spurs, unfortunately. That's not how we do things around here. We don't have the trophies to match. We just have the humiliation. That's all we can guarantee. We can't guarantee anything else. So
the life of a bloody Tottenham Hotspur fan.
I know it's depressing, to be honest, because I think we all kind of, after Pochettino went and we had Mourinho and Conte, we all kind of just put everything into the basket of maybe we look, it will end terribly, but maybe we can have a trophy to show for it with all this toxicity and all this short-termism and just for the here and now, we can maybe endure it if we do come away with a trophy, but it hasn't happened. We're going to have no trophies to show for it. We're going to have nothing to show for it. It's all going to be a big waste of time. And Levy, I think, not for the first time, but definitely for the largest time, has massive egg on his face after these last 4 years, in my opinion. He went in search of short-termism, and he's fallen flat on his face.
He's gone in search of it, but he didn't want to act upon it.
No,
which is like. How make that make sense to me? Like, how can you bring in Jose Mourinho? How can you bring in Antonio Conte for short-termism, but then give them like Jed Spence's and Joe Rodens and stuff like that?
Doesn't make any sense.
Like, what are they doing at this football club? And now you're hearing like the latest one that's coming out is from Gary Jacobs saying that Ryan Mason is on standby to take charge of Tottenham Hotspur.
He's always on standby to take charge of Tottenham.
And listen to this. Mason could be assisted by the likes of Chris Powell, Jermaine Defoe and Michel Vorm. The dream team.
Player managers, why not? Get them on the pitch. Why are they just managing? Why? I don't get Bale out of retirement. I don't like. Why are we just doing this with managers? Get them on the pitch, man. Why not? Absolutely, why not? It's ridiculous. This club is ridiculous. I think this is going to be a situation to drag us to top four. It ain't going to happen. They've royally screwed up. And also, if you look at the last 8 games, we're third in the form table. How are a team third in the form table in such crisis? I just don't understand it. But that is what happens when you have someone like as volatile as Antonio Conte in charge, who's willing to put his heart on his sleeve and just and not accept mediocrity. That's reality.
When you're thinking about like who you want as our next manager, you know, all the names come to mind, various names doing the rounds on social media, you know, the likes of Poch, Tuchel, Glasner, you know, and everyone else, Amorim, all these names. And like, can any name get you excited now after what we've been through in the last 4 years? We've had Jose Mourinho, Nuno, Conte, Poch. Everyone has been burnt by pretty much for the same reasons and the same way. So, like, how can you get excited about a new manager coming in or who's going to come in next?
I think in terms of big names, you can't, because we've had two of the biggest names that you can ever think of in the last, as our last two. Well, we had Nuno in between, but in terms of Mourinho and Conte, you don't get bigger than them, and we haven't been able to make it work. And it's not like. It's not as if we had Mourinho and you can say, oh, you know, he's finished. But if we had a manager in his prime, you know, it'd be different, because we had Conte and he's in his prime, and then that also didn't work. So I don't think it's about names. Pochettino wasn't a massive name when he first came to Spurs, and he was one who made it work. So I think at this point, it's not about getting excited about the biggest names and elite managers. It's about finding the right fit for what we want. Conte and Mourinho were never the right fit. I think the club, if they were going to continue to operate in the way they're operating, they were never going to be the right fit. You know, when Mourinho went back to Chelsea in his second spell, he told them exactly what he needed to win the league. He's like, if you get me Fabregas, if you get me Diego Costa, I will win you the league. And I remember Fabregas, I saw an interview recently, Fabregas was saying that before he signed for Chelsea, he had a meeting with Mourinho, and he said, "Look, this is my vision for how how I see us winning the league. This is exactly what I want in each position, and this is how I see the team moving forward, and this is going to win us the league." And he convinced Fabregas to join, and they did join. He did join, and they won the league. Obviously, it didn't last very long, but that's exactly what Mourinho is. He gets that short-term boost. He knows exactly what he wants, and he can get results. But at Tottenham, you know, I doubt he sat down with Levy. Is like, okay, I want Matt Doherty here, I want Joe Rodon here, I want Bergwijn here. It was none of them.
He says, "Get me Kim Min-jae for $5 million." And who?
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. He probably sat down and said, "I want all these players," and they were never going to oblige. They were never going to give him what he needed. So he was always going to be compromising. It's always compromise. And he's not a manager who is elite when he's always having to compromise in every position. And this is what life is as a Tottenham manager. It's always going to be compromise, and you're always going to have players thrust upon you. We're just hearing today, Ali Gold in his article said that Spurs signed Danjuma, and no one thought to ask Conte if he fits the system. And apparently, so everyone's saying, you know, Conte's been backed, and Conte's look. Conte spent money, don't get me wrong, and do we have a better squad than we did last season? Yeah, we do. But my point is that Conte has been given players, good players, don't get me wrong, and he should be able to get more out of them, but he hasn't been given players because they fit his system, because they're giving him players to fit what Conte want to do. They're giving him players because they're able to get them, and they're good players. So it's not like they've sat down with Conte and said, like, okay, we really see Richarlison fitting in here, we really see Basuma fitting in here. This is where I'm looking at the formation, what we need for in terms of transfer market, and we're going to sign players to fit into these positions. What we're saying is we're basically saying, well, Everton are struggling financial, so I think we could get Richarlison. Basuma's got 1 year left on his contract. I think we can get Basuma. And look, if you can give him to a manager who's maybe more adaptable and maybe more willing to compromise in how he plays and all that kind of stuff, maybe that can work. But when you've got a manager as stringent as Antonio Conte and how he wants to play, and who wants very specific things, that was never going to work. That was never going to be the way to move forward with him. And so that's why we're in a position where he doesn't even want to use some of the players that you've given to him because they don't fit the way he wants to play. And as much as Richarlison and Basuma and Danjuma and Spence, maybe they're good players, but when you sign Conte, you know it's a by and large, you know it's a short-term thing where he looks to really challenge for the big trophies over a short amount of time, and you give him things that he can work with for his system. And if you're not going to do that, then you're wasting everyone's time by pointing it.
I just hate this narrative going around the fan base every time this happens. Every time this happens, we hire a manager, the fan base are in kind of like unison saying, all right, this is Daniel Levy's last chance. And then he doesn't get what he wants in the transfer window, but we do make signings. The manager ultimately fails and gets the sack and gets really irate. And just before that, in the build-up to the manager getting the sack, everyone's blaming the manager and being like, oh, he's not good enough, get him out, look what we had under Poch, blah, 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 blah. And we end up, you know, going completely against the manager, forgetting exactly why the manager is in this exact situation every single time. I mean, it's like Groundhog Day every time. Every 18 months, we're in this exact same position just because we can't give a manager what they need. So, I mean, surely managers are going to have to start thinking twice before coming here. Like, it's a bit of a poison chalice.
That's what we're hearing. We're hearing Matt Law now in his latest article saying that a number of the Spurs candidates that we're looking at to replace Conte have the same reservations that Conte has, and they're thinking twice before jumping at the chance to become the new Tottenham manager, because they believe that. I'll get the. I saved the quote one sec from the article. says here, it is understood that a number of Tottenham's potential candidates to replace Conte share similar concerns to those he raised so publicly after the 3-3 draw against Southampton. There is a feeling from outside the club that Conte overachieved in his first season at Spurs by clinching Champions League qualification, and that this campaign is more reflective of the level of the squad and the ambition of the club. Managers are also said to have reservations over the running of the football operations at Tottenham, particularly given the doubts over the future of managing director Fabio Paratici. And that's another thing. If you're a manager coming into the club, you obviously you couldn't be willing to work under a director of football and be collaborative for sure. But while Paratici is there under the doubt of whether he's going to have a long-term future of the club, given the suspended sentence or whatever the 30-month suspension he has, whether he's going to be here long term if the appeal gets upheld, you don't know what kind of director of football you're going to be dealing with. You don't know what's going on when it comes to the footballing operations. It's up in the air. It's completely up in the air. So how can you sit down and agree something? And first of all, there might not be a director of football at all in a few months, or you might have a completely different director of football in a few months. So how can you agree any sort of long-term vision with the club when you don't know, when the footballing operations is so uncertain? That's also got to be an extra element.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's what I was saying yesterday, that Conte completely overachieved last season, getting top four. We had no right, I was saying in the panel yesterday, to get top four last season. We're currently sitting in the top four. We could have gone third with a win over Southampton during the week. And I, for one, thought Conte has done a brilliant job since coming here. I really have. Yeah, fine. You can argue that the football wasn't the best to see. Yeah, fine. He has made mistakes. There's no two ways about it. And he does have some criticism to come his way. But that doesn't take away from the fact that he's done a good job here at Tottenham Hotspur. Fourth last year, currently fourth, very close to third. And yeah, it was very disappointing the way we went out the Cups and the way we have gone out of the Cups since he's come here. But at the end of the day, that's not the targets that were set upon him when he came into this club. The targets were top four, get back into the Champions League. And when he came here, we were out of the Champions League for 2-3 years?
Yeah.
So he did a brilliant job getting us back into the Champions League. Yes, there has been money spent, but it's not the money that he wanted to spend and not the money that maybe we would have hoped to spend. I mean, how could we have gone to last window signing Antonio Conte and not getting a big centre-backs through the door, not getting big wing-backs through the door? Yeah, people will argue, we got Pedro Porro. Yeah, how many games did Pedro Porro play under Conte? 3, 4?
And they're good.
Yeah, and they were good. So, look, Conte has been completely thrown under the bus by this football club. Jose Mourinho was completely thrown under the bus by this football club. So was Pochettino, and so was Nuno to a certain extent as well. So we're in a mess, man. We're in a massive mess, and I don't know. I mean, the only way I can see us getting out of it is to get a young, progressive manager that'll take time, and no two ways about it. We might come out of Europe for a couple of years while we rebuild and stuff, but we could see a bit of light at the end of the tunnel in a year or two.
Don't get me wrong. Conte's ego definitely sometimes is his own worst enemy, and sometimes gets him in trouble. His ego and his stubbornness are probably his two biggest weaknesses in terms of being a football manager, and that has definitely probably got in the way of how he's managed the squad, and maybe it's alienated some people, and maybe that's caused problems. But at the end of the day, when you look at the facts of the matter, football's a results business, and he's got us top four last season. He's in the top four this season, and I think that when you have a manager like Antonio Conte, as much as he's going to want to shift blame from himself and all these kind of things, and people can say it's ridiculous, and people can challenge his ego and all this kind of stuff, and there is some validity to it. But this is a manager who's won title after title in other football clubs. He knows his way of working works. He's been convinced of it his whole footballing career,
and it's worked here.
He got us top four. So why why should he feel like he's the one responsible for the failure of this club to really push on and challenge for big things when we're struggling to really challenge the elite, and he's stubborn with his football system, and he wants Spurs to play in the system that he wants to in a stubborn way. Why should he feel like he needs to change when he wants to challenge those top honours? He's obviously going to have that ego about him, and you can blame him for it, and maybe that's held him back in a certain way, but at the end of the day, that's what elite football managers have. You have that ego. I think to get to where he is, you can't get to where he is without the ego that he has. And obviously, it's a problem like it is with a lot of managers, but you have to be able to manage that. And I think when a manager like Conte is at a club like Spurs and we're not competing for the top honours, he naturally grows frustrated. He sees the managers at the top, even Arteta and Guardiola, and he sees them challenging for titles, and he sees us struggling in the top four battle, and he gets frustrated because he wants the best. He hates mediocrity. He always wants to strive for more, and there are too many players, and there's too much of a culture at this club where we're happy for mediocrity. We're happy to be in top four challenges or even just miss out on top four. We're happy for all these situations to continue. I think, there are players who don't go home after defeats and think about what they can do better. They're just happy to turn up for training and move on from it. And they're not, and as Conte said, they're not as obsessed with it as he is about winning and about being the best. They're just too happy riding the wave and being mediocre, and that's a big problem when we're looking to move to the next level, especially after the Pochettino era. And unfortunately, until a lot of the culture and the mentality changes amongst the squad, we're never going to get to a stage where we're ever breaking that barrier of just finishing top four. And that's the problem at the moment, I feel.
What we're trying to do at this football club, what Levy is trying to achieve here, he's trying to turn us into a bit of a Chelsea where, we hire elite managers, we spend a bit of money, and they think that's going to kind of resonate into success. But what they don't understand is it takes proper planning and proper effort to get these players through the door, and it's not just any opportunity where they've had a good season or a good couple of seasons that you can get through the door and it will work for the manager. You need to properly plan within a manager's system and earmark the positions that you need to bring in, and we don't do that at Tottenham. Yes, fine, like people argue that Conte's been backed. We spent loads of money since he's come in, which is true. Like we have spent loads of money since he's come in, but that doesn't mean specifically he's been backed. Not at all. And I don't get the kind of claims that when people say Conte has been backed, because if he's been backed, then we wouldn't still have Dyer starting every single week. We wouldn't still have these idiots that we see on the pitch every single week. We wouldn't have started the season with only Emerson Royale pretty much as our right wing back, with Matt Doherty going at the last day, a player called Jed Spence, who he didn't want to use whatsoever. I mean, that is not called being backed. That is just called making signings, club signings that are going to be here for the future and maybe, not going to bring instant success with Antonio Conte. That's not what you bring in Antonio Conte for. You bring in Antonio Conte to bring in players that he wants now so he can win now. That's the only reason you bring him in, and that goes for the same as Jose Mourinho as well. So if they want to go on this way, the only way forward is to sign someone like Pochettino, bring in someone like Carrick or Company, someone like that, some young manager that's going to come in, work their hardest with what they've got, and build something for the future. Because this club ain't ready to win now. It's just not ready to win now, and it won't be for a while. So it's been completely pointless these last 4 years. Completely pointless.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. There's been no progression. The football has been terrible. The fans have grown frustrated and they've grown apathetic a lot to what's going on as well. We had a really good thing going 4 years ago with Pochettino, and although it went stale near the end, that wasn't his fault. We all know the reasons why that happened. And now we're in a situation where we've gone from win now manager to elite manager to elite manager, and We still haven't made it work. We're still in the same situation where a lot of the same players and the squad is just a lot of the time not ready to progress further than where it was before, and we're in the very same situation. And like, we had that project under Pochettino where we were consistently getting top four, and it was good for what we were, but then maybe we got ahead of ourselves. Maybe we got ahead of our station. We as I said, when Pochettino was there, he normalized overachievement. That's exactly what he did by getting top four every season and making it look easy. And now we're seeing that it's not that easy to be that consistent and play that kind of football all the time. And we got ahead of ourselves thinking that, all right, now we're in a new stadium, we should be, we're ready to win trophies every season, and we can do that with Mourinho and Conte, but we were never willing to actually act like we were going to give them what they wanted. And so there's no other way of moving forward but to have a different kind of manager. You can't carry on with these kind of high demanding managers who you're never going to satisfy, because we're not a kind of club who can satisfy their needs. That's the reality. So what's the point of trying? What's the point of even pretending that you can, because we're clearly not able to?
Yeah.
So what's the point?
Yeah, it's absolutely spot on. Look, we've got a few super chats in. One from OK saying Redknapp Mason in until the end of the year for motivation. I mean, Redknapp, I think he was on TalkSport the other day throwing his hat into the ring saying he'll come and insist Ryan Mason.
Bring him in.
I mean, why not? I mean, it's better than Mason on his own, probably. So,
bring him in.
That's that. Benjamin Parsons, member for 5 months, saying, I think Kane only stays if Poch comes back here. Come on, you Spurs. I don't even think Poch can convince Kane to stay. I mean, why would Kane stick around for Poch? Doesn't make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me either. Look, in terms of, obviously, Kane and Poch, they know each other. And look, you always say, oh, Kane has a good relationship with him. And Kane has a good relationship with every manager except for Nuno, pretty much. Everyone's going to love Harry Kane. And he's always going to be a professional who works his best and performs under every manager. But in terms of Kane, like being in that, I think it's going to be very difficult for him to avoid that headspace he was in 2 years ago, where he wanted out, didn't turn up for training, was pretty much not motivated to be at his best because he wants to win big trophies. And the way this club's got another elite manager's come and gone now, another manager who shares the mentality of Harry Kane, who wants to win big trophies. And what's keeping him here? Really, to be honest, I don't know what's keeping him here anymore. He's already got that legendary status. Now he's got that top goal scorer record. So it's not like if he leaves now, he's risking that. He's always going to have that. He's always going to be in the history of Tottenham, whatever happens. So what is actually keeping him here? Just his love for Tottenham. I mean, that's not enough anymore, I don't think. Sometimes love's not enough to keep you together, and that's Absolutely. The reality. That is the reality. I think that's probably the only thing we have in our favour. In terms of keeping Kane, is that maybe Levy's going to really hold strong and not accept any bids. But if Kane really pushes for it this time and doesn't let up, then it's going to be very difficult for us to keep rejecting bids if Kane's going to be like the Kane we had 2 years ago.
Exactly, and we don't want that whatsoever. I'd rather have the money in than have that Kane back again. No, and the last super chat from El Dante saying, why can't Stellini manage for the rest of the season? I mean, he's going to be following Conte out the door. Don't have any qualms about that?
Yeah, I don't think we're going to give it. Yeah, if Conte leaves, Stellini follows him 100%. I can't see Stellini saying, oh, don't worry, I'll take over from Conte, and I don't see that happening. But we all know that it's the most frustrating thing is we all know that Conte's going to, after whoever he manages after this, he'll go there and he'll win trophies.
Of course he will.
We all know he will.
Of course he will.
And
just
then we'll.
Just as Jose did.
Yeah, exactly. And we know that, like, we'll probably be sitting here, like, in the middle of another project while Conte's over another club winning loads of trophies again, and we'll just be still sitting here hoping maybe this project works out, maybe give it a bit more time, and maybe we can start winning things. And it's like, it's so frustrating that we're having all these managers who win trophies everywhere, and they come here and they just can't make it work. And that's just the story of this club.
Well, bring on the Mason, Defoe, Powell and Vorm era. It's going to be a joy to behold from now until the end of the season in that search for the top four. Just a reminder, we are taking callers on this show, so the link is in the community section for silver members or above. So if you want to come on and have your say about Antonio Conte, about the next manager in charge, then do click that link and come on and have your say.
According to Dan Kilpatrick, Paratici is understood to currently be heading the Tottenham managerial succession planning and drawing up a list of potential candidates understood to be topped by Luis Enrique.
So another one that's going to be gone in 18 months' time.
Pretty much. And also, it is a bit worrying, though, like, Paratici did worry me with his managerial search last time, I have to say. Like, nearly hiring Gattuso and then obviously ending up with Nuno was like...
Whose idea was Fonseca?
Fonseca was before him. And then I don't know, but then Fonseca was before him, and then we were pretty much about to appoint him, and then we appointed Paratici first, and then Paratici pulled the plug on the deal, essentially. So... I don't know. It kind of worries me a bit that Paratici's heading it in a way, because I
rather Levy to head it.
I wouldn't want Levy to head it either. But I don't like that told me, that managerial search, that maybe he doesn't quite get what the club wants or needs, or what the fans want as well. That's what, like, getting Gattuso in, that has to be a red flag. And obviously he landed with Nuno, who was a horrific appointment. He realised he got it completely wrong fairly early, which is fair enough. And then we ended up bringing Conte, but. Like, does Paratici know what we want? I don't know. Like, if the fans are hell bent on, you know, having a manager who plays attractive football and all this kind of stuff, like, does he know? Is that his philosophy as well? Because it doesn't seem to be.
I don't know. I think Paratici's philosophy is pretty much the same as Conte's philosophy, in my opinion. That kind of football, that kind of way of playing, and it doesn't suit us, man. It does not suit us unless we're going to bring in players to win now. It's not going to suit us. We need to go back to what we had before, where we had the youngest team in the Premier League, free-flowing football. And maybe Fonseca was the right choice, to be honest, because, you know, he's doing really well out in France at the moment. And I think his teams have, like, one of the highest XGs in Europe or something like that. So... maybe he was the right choice at the time, but no.
Here's the PR coming out now. According to Dan Kilpatrick, during Conte's absence, Mason is understood to have made many big calls tactically, including the canny decision to push Eric Dyer into midfield in the 1-0 win against Man City. So Mason was the mastermind behind everything. You heard it here first. Mason is the real reason we ever won games. It was all down to Ryan Mason.
There was another one as well coming out from the Times saying Ryan Mason is a popular figure amongst the Tottenham squad, including Harry Kane. The club are also fans of his work and on the training ground, as they consider appointing him on an interim basis for a second time. So Mason's going to get Harry Kane back on board.
Exactly,
people.
he's going to get Kane to sign on. He's going to. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, apparently there's a recall option in Winks' loan contract.
Oh, they're good mates, I'm sure. Yeah, exactly. Oh, my God. Like, it's just ridiculous. The whole situation is ridiculous at Tottenham, to be honest. Mason, again, after just 2 years after it happened, that just goes to show the shambles we're in. Yeah. If anything goes to show, the fact that we're appointing Ryan Mason for a second time in 3 years that just sums it up.
Yeah. John Schuster with the super chat saying, in your opinion, could you rank these in order of most important to less important, of changing the mentality of the club, the board, the manager, the players?
The mentality comes from the board.
Yeah.
But so changing mentality of the club, the board and the players.
Yeah.
I would say the board is number one.
Yeah.
Mentality 2, players 3, I guess. I mean, board and the mentality is the same thing, I feel.
And manager above the players, right?
Manager as well.
No, players probably above the manager, because it's the players that keep throwing the manager under the bus.
Yeah, I would say the players and then the manager, yeah, 100%. And if I'm just thinking, if Enrique's our first choice, like, I'm just thinking about what that kind of team looks like. It's going to need, first of all, he's going to be highly demanding. He's going to have, like, this is a manager, right, when he was at his best at Barcelona, winning a treble, he had Suarez, Neymar, and Messi all in their prime. Yeah. Like obviously, like that he did well. Obviously, like he had Rakitic in midfield. He had Piqué in his prime, and Jordi Alba Dani Alves. This is a world-class team. If he's trying to build a really technical team at Tottenham who can play all this
He's never had to deal with the likes of Eric Dyer before.
Yeah, I mean, definitely not. And also the kind of players we're going to need, like 2 or 3 new midfielders probably. Obviously, we're going to need a bunch of new defenders. In terms of the forward line, I think like he's probably going to need some more technical forwards as well. Like I don't know where that leaves Sonny, to be honest. If Enrique comes in, I don't know. It's a lot of big questions. I think there's going to be he's going to want some heavy investment, heavy investment if he comes in.
Who isn't?
Yeah, true.
Who isn't? But I think that I don't even know what I think anymore. I'm just so lost with this football club. It's like every bloody year to 18 months, we're back in this situation. We're back in crisis mode. We're back in bloody the shit of the circumstances of what our owner puts us through. It's not good enough. And
yeah, meme pops into my head like when Conte goes. That meme pops into my head of Lee Judges going, "He's done it again." It's just ENIC. Yeah. It's just that's how I feel about ENIC. They've done it again. Those bloody ENIC. Every bloody time. That's what I feel. Honestly, that's how I feel inside.
And they're saying, I think a reporter just said that Luis Enrique is top of the list in our new manager search. Luis Enrique is dying to get back into management. I mean, I really like Enrique as a manager. I really rate him. I think he's a top manager. But you just know what's going to happen. You just know in a year to 18 months' time, we're just here again.
I just don't know if he's the right fit. I just don't know. I like, as much as he's won trophies, like a manager who's more like not as demanding as Enrique's.
Who?
Like a Pochettino or like De Zerbi or something. I don't know, or like or someone who's just willing to, who plays like attacking football, but is more willing to like compromise on how he plays a bit and just like willing to work within the means of the club. I just feel like Enrique is going to come in and like demand the world and like. When everything happens where he can't get exactly what he wants and we're not playing the best football, he's going to blame it on the fact that he can't get what he wants. You know what I mean? And that's just what I'm worried about happening if he comes in. And also, I feel like a lot of, like when he was Spain manager, like he does like a lot of his passing, but like he passes teams to death. I don't know. For me, I didn't find his Spain team that exciting, to be honest. Like I don't know. I think it wasn't like exciting, quick football. It was just like loads and loads of passes without any real penetration. And maybe with our forward players will be different, but we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, I was actually impressed with that Spain team because it's not the best squad in the world. It's not the best Spain team that they've had. It's probably the worst Spain team that they've had in a while, to be honest. So I actually think he did pretty well with it. And at one point during the tournament, people were calling them their dark horses and they might go on to win it. I mean, obviously it didn't come to that, but I thought they had a really good World Cup, Spain, to be honest.
I wasn't that impressed.
Yeah, fair enough. But look, we're going to get some guests on. Do we have anyone waiting? Of course we do.
Come on.
Hello, boys.
KPV, I think you got something on your eyebrow.
No, I don't.
Why are you pointing to it?
No, it's just a celebration that good old Rashford does. Just a cell. So, I don't
What's
know what
your opinions on Conte, Mr. KPV?
Let's get straight to the point. First off, I do not agree with what he said, like calling out the board. Like I heard on Twitter that Brian Decker said he finally called out the board. Like apparently it was only aimed at the players. Like he should have left after the Burnley game last season. He should have left after the Burnley game because, like, we should have done this 4 weeks ago. Like
why?
He should have left because he knows we haven't won anything and should not have came in the first place, man. He should have came before the start of last season, not during mid-season. Like, managers don't come during mid-season. Like, Mourinho came in May 2004, just after the Invincibles season, after those lot won it and went the whole season unbeaten. And then and Conte even left Chelsea after they won the FA Cup. He was sacked. So
who do you want next, KPV?
Well, there's only one question, mate. People know, and I think you know who I want.
Is there only one answer, though?
Yeah.
Go on.
Poch.
Poch.
Easy.
People say that you shouldn't go back to your ex. That's not the
Well,
case with you?
it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter who you don't go back to your ex. Like, I don't give a damn, mate. I want him back. I know some of the fans want him back. Like, it doesn't matter if you don't go back to your ex. Like, I want him back because he didn't want Dyer in his starting lineup when he was there for the first time. Like, he's gonna need some refreshment if he does come in the summer. Like, get rid of Dyer, who I saw a video on Twitter when I was on Dave's channel last night of Dyer laughing with this person who I believe Dyer, Kane and Doherty met during pre-season. Like, why is Dyer laughing? We haven't won anything, man. When's it gonna end? I don't like it. Laughing, we haven't won anything, and I don't like what Mia said on Dave's channel. Like, Kane and Son are to blame because they haven't scored in cups. Like, Kane scored in the FA Cup semi-final against Chelsea in 2017, and so there's a fact, Mia. I'm sorry, darling, but it's a fact. And Dele Alli scored as well. So Son scored in the FA Cup a few times, but Kane's the only one that scored in the semi-final. Ericsson didn't, but Ali did. So players.
Well, KPV, we're going to have to see how it rumbles on the manager search, but it looks as though Ryan Mason will be coming in. But thanks for coming on today, my friend.
Yeah, but hopefully it'll be Poch in the summer because, like, Luis Enrique, I wouldn't mind. Like, as you two jabronis just said, he had Messi, Suarez, Neymar when they won that treble in 2015. Like, so he doesn't want these players in the moment. Like, get rid of Dyer and Sanchez and I don't know who else there is, but we can't get rid of Davis because I know he can play a left wing back, but Perisic is gonna go anyway. But anyway, oh, you didn't know? You better call somebody. You damn right.
All right, KPV. We'll speak to you soon. Thanks for coming on.
Nice one, Carl.
Yeah, boys. Conte out. Levy sucks.
All right. That was KPV, everyone.
Matt Doherty's had his say on the whole Conte situation. Asked about what Spurs should do with Conte. He says, "I hope Tottenham stick by him and hold on to him for as long as possible, as he's one of the best managers of all time."
True, absolutely true.
Interesting for a guy who got released under his tenure. Interesting.
I mean, I think all the absolute professionals, I didn't know Doherty was, to be honest, but all the absolute professionals will be of that thinking, in my opinion. But let's move on. We got Michael ready to come on. Michael, how you doing, my friend? You all right?
Could have been better.
Another day in paradise, eh?
Yeah, another day in shit show that's called Tottenham Hotspur, right? But yeah, I don't know. Of course, we haven't spoken since the Southampton game, right? But
yeah,
I'm honestly somewhere between like angry and sad. Like, it's like this, binary state between 0 and 1. I don't really know which way I should go. If I should be angry about the whole situation or really sad, because I think I've spoke on your channel and on other channels. It's not that I particularly like love Conte or that I'm amazed by his football or whatever, right? I just feel like it would be a really like pragmatic and good thing to stick with him, in my opinion. And because in my eyes, we've actually been building a team of his for quite some time, for 3 windows already, and I wouldn't be against it if he stayed and if he was given a new contract. I know it turned toxic, but let's just imagine a situation where it didn't really go so sour and we as fans had a bit more patience. I think this whole like project or whatever you want to call it would work with Conte, right? So in that sense, I am a bit sad that it will, like, most likely 99.9% 9% end up like this with him getting sacked, right? But yeah, again, it's not that I'm like super devastated and I'm going to cry myself to sleep or whatever, right? It's just I think it would have been really pragmatic to stick with Conte and give him like more time, in my opinion.
Do you think that after that press conference, again after the Southampton game, there potentially was no way back for Conte? Because can you really the players were turning against him. Results were starting to get poor, especially away from home. I mean, was there a way back for him after that press conference, or could there have been a way back for him?
I'm not really sure. I don't think there would be a way back, just because like maybe fans were really behind his back and we actually wanted him to succeed, and we were all like diehard Conte or whatever, right? And he said the things that he said, then maybe it would be a risk for our ownership to sack him, right? But then we kind of, and I spoke about this with Irish Hotspur yesterday, and I don't want to say I'm blaming the fans. It's not what I mean, right? But I think if we have given Conte a chance, and if we have given him more time and our, let's say, a seal of approval, right? I think it would have been much more difficult for Conte to sack. For Levy to sack him. But we kind of like gave him a seal of approval to sack him, right? Because we don't, like, majority of our fans apparently don't want him, right? So why would he stick with the plan? Why would he stick with Conte if he is the one, like, bringing shit down behind the scenes, right? So yeah, like I don't think there was coming back from his comments, because it was a really like risky thing that he did, because he either banks on like ownership backing him and actually allowing him to get rid of the players, etc., 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 or it all goes to shit, right? And unfortunately it ended up with the second scenario.
What do you think it says about the club, Michael, that we're set to appoint Mason for the second time in 3 years for an interim stint at Tottenham, this time for 10 games as opposed to like wherever it was last time, 6 games?
Yeah, it's 6 or 8 or something like this, right? It's just mad, because I've seen yesterday that the 18-19 season was the last season where a manager lasted the whole season, right? So like Jose got appointed mid-season and sacked mid-season. Same thing with Conte. Nuno didn't even get to like half a season, right? So it really, in my opinion, says something about how we do things here, and unfortunately how it turned, right? Because we had a project, we had a manager that we all loved, we had everything like rolling. I know that there was a massive dip after the Champions League final, right? But in all honesty, if we had the money that we have, right, that we've spent on Jose, Conte, and Nuno, etc., then I think like the best course of action back then would be to stick with Conte and stick with Pochettino and give him the chance to rebuild the team, right? But what it says about our club, I'm honestly really torn, because it would seem that we are trying to do the whole Chelsea thing, as I think one of you boys mentioned it before you started bringing in callers, right? That we are trying to do the Chelsea thing, but we are never going to do the Chelsea thing, right? We are never going to be that club that's just sacking and firing, spending loads of money, because that's not how the things are done here, right? So in my opinion,
the cheap Chelsea, that's what they're going to call us, the Poundland Chelsea.
Yeah, the Poundland Chelsea, it's just mad for me, because I feel like we really need, what I want right now is for our club to actually back a manager, whoever it is, right? I have my preferences, and again, what my choices are a bit pragmatic, instead of like flamboyant, going for names or whatever, right? I think that I really like Ruben Amorim, the sporting manager, and why is because he also plays similar system to ours, but it's more progressive and more like front foot, which I think would do well with our fans. Because listen, I know the profile of players in Sporting is different, right? But I think he could try to do that here. which is like play a more progressive, version of the system that Conte did. But I also think that with sticking with this system, we could actually just sprinkle 4 or 5 more signings, and that 11 that plays 3-4-3 would be complete in my opinion. So that's my choice, right? But again, if it's Luis Enrique, I'm not against it. If it's anyone else, I'm not against it. What I want is for us to finally stick with a manager for a longer period of time, for 3-4 years. Give the guy a chance. And listen, for all the guys that have been what I like to call them project merchants, we will have to suffer through dips and low points, right? Because it won't be brilliant from the get-go, right? So we cannot really go out there and start whining in October that we don't like football or whatever, right? You have to give this guy a chance, and our club has to give that coach a chance, right? That's my take on it. I would love for us to actually make a decision and stick with someone for once, right?
Would he be your number one choice?
Amorim, it's my pragmatic choice because of like I don't. Okay, let me say it this way: if we bring Enrique, I feel like there is like at best 5 players in this team that can play his football, and
Yeah,
I
if
think
that,
that's
yeah.
stretching it a bit. Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
stretching it a bit. So. Uh, so if Enrique was here, we would probably need to splash a lot more cash than for then to build a proper 3-4-3 team. So that's the only reason, as I said, pragmatic choice. But if it is Enrique, I'm not against it, and I'm willing to see what comes of that version of our project, right? Or however you want to call it. But yeah, I want us to stick with someone. Just stop changing the manager. Stop chopping and changing. Levy, please. Like Levy or whoever it is, if there is an ownership change, whatever, right? Just stick with a manager and let him build a team in his view, right? And
And
I think it will do wonders for us.
I agree with that 100%. But like everyone's saying that they want Amorim in. I mean, like he's not even doing well in the Portuguese league. I know he had a good result against Arsenal,
Of course.
but he's not even doing that well in the Portuguese league. So I mean, yeah, his football's pleasing on the eye, but is he really the guy we want? Are we really not going to be back in the same situation as we are in 18 months? I'm kind of feeling like this is just a complete poison chalice, and it doesn't really matter who we get in next anyway.
It's so tough to like gauge how what's the best course of action for this club. And like again, I said Amorim, but I'm not like hell bent on it, as I said, right? So yeah, who is the best manager for this team, right? Maybe it is Pochettino, right? Because
Maybe it is Ryan Mason.
yeah, maybe it is bring Mason in project, 4 years, give the guy a chance, whatever, right? He was working with Jose, he was working with Conte, he was working with Nuno, the best coach out there,
Exactly.
right?
Don't forget the Nuno one.
Yeah, but boys, it's again, if we felt deflated before the whole Conte situation, then like what are we now? I am super deflated with this season. I honestly want this season to end, and it's so tough. And right now, I also think we won't make top 4. And again, like you can spin it and say I don't give a shit about top 4 because I kind of don't. But I understand why it's important for a club to be in the top 4 place, right? So, and we won't probably achieve that with Mason. So it's like why watch the games? Why like give me a good reason to watch the game other than supporting the club I love, right? But it's not that I'm supporting them in achieving something. It's just supporting for the sake of supporting, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, Michael, thanks for coming on today, my friend. And we'll see you very soon. I'm sure we'll be going live a lot this week as the news progresses. So I'm sure this won't be the last time we're speaking to you this week.
Yes, of course. Pleasure speaking with you guys as always. And like, have a nice stream. Have a good day. See you.
Come on, you Spurs. See you later.
Come on, you Spurs.
All right. Another super chat here from Rinkatic saying from Redknapp to Tim to Poch, Jose, Ryan, Nuno, and Conte in the span of 10 years. What a roller coaster. Sometimes I hate being a Spurs fan. You and me both, my friend. And this next guy definitely hates being a Spurs fan. We definitely call him the problem here at We Are Tottenham TV. And let's bring him on. It's Danny Kiriakou.
No, you got to get it right, Ben. It's not me that's the problem. It's the fan base that's the problem.
You are the fan base, Danny.
Like, I want to win things. I want to see my team win trophies, but we're not going to do that. So
You want to see carnage. That's what you want to see.
no, not really. I don't. But I think that's what it's going to take for fans to actually kind of have one kind of unite together to kind of have a some sort of impact to try and change the kind of way this board runs a club. But that's not going to happen because Levy will never let that happen. So it doesn't really matter, really.
Danny, talk to me. Are you ready for the Mason Defoe, Michel Vorm revolution?
I can't wait for Harry Winks as our captain. Cannot wait. Cannot
Apparently
wait.
he's got a recall clause in his loan.
Yeah, I know. And mate, I'm telling you,
No, he
he's
doesn't
gonna come
really.
back.
I was just joking, but
If they can cancel the loan, don't worry about it. It's fine. If Mason wants him, that's it. Levy's yes man, mate. Yes, saving money doesn't really make a difference. Don't need to buy players. Just bring Winks back. Simple as that. But look, the fans are getting what they want. They wanted Conte out. Most of them did. And yeah, I just think it's a bit of a sad day, I think, for people who actually have a bit of ambition at this club, or the fans who actually want to try and see the mentality and culture at this club change. And I think the problem that I have with this is the fact that not only the fact that we just see this time and time again, right? So the stat was, I think, from 2018 to 2019 season was the last time we had a manager in charge for a full season, right? Now, fans think we're going to rebuild under another manager, right? When we haven't had a manager since Poch that actually was able to have a bit of to go a full season. And then when Poch wanted the rebuild, he gets sacked. So I don't know where this delusion or this kind of idea comes from the fan base to actually believe that we're going to get a manager that's going to come in and he's going to get given a chance to rebuild this team. Like, honestly, I know people talking about Luis Enrique. I mean, let's be serious. Do people actually believe Luis Enrique is going to come to this club and have a 5-year project to rebuild this team? Like, seriously, it's not good. The only person I genuinely see rebuilding this team is someone like a Mason. I'm not saying he's going to rebuild it to a level to try and compete for trophies. That's not going to happen. He could rebuild it, but you'll see more average players come into this team because the problem we've got at this club is that it's run by it's run with an ingrained culture of mediocrity is accepted at this club. There's no accountability on the players that perform badly consistently time and time again, right? And what's funny is I was looking at someone was showing me some stats the other day, and last season, over the whole course of the season, we were the 4th best team in terms of clean sheets and defensive stats in the league last season, right? That was taken into account that we had Nuno up until November, and we were 8th in the table when he came in, right? So what Conte did last season to the players, pretty much the core players are still there from last season, right? That what he's got this season, he was able to get a tune out of them. Now, when you look at this season, if you look at the clean sheets and the actual defensive stats, we are 8th in the table for clean sheet record, and we're the 6th worst Premier League team in terms of goals conceded. When you actually look at the actual stats of it, it's quite funny because it's like you can see the pattern of this. It's like Tottenham are like this, up and down, up and down, up and down. Now, my biggest problem is, why is it that last season Conte gets a tune out of the same players, but this season they're just so inconsistent, so much more than they were last season? And for me, what I can clearly see is it's the concentration in a lot of the players, right? It's their concentration. What I see, like against Sheffield United, I had people saying to me, why why shouldn't we beat Sheffield United, right? And I said, well, did you not listen to Conte's interview the other day? He literally said that the team he put out, he believed was good enough to beat Sheffield United. And I think every fan at this club, apart from the odd few like myself, said that unless you play your first 11, you're not beating that Sheffield United team. And the reason why I say this is because when Conte talks about there's no desire, everyone's playing for themselves, all this kind of stuff, it's because the players that aren't playing, the players who are on the bench, who I believe are they're on the bench because they're not good enough to even play, right? And Conte trusts the ones he's trying to get a tune out of in the first 11, which is why it doesn't change it up too much, right? I believe that those players just don't have that care anymore, because if they're not playing and if they're not even getting a chance in their training, and they're not getting that chance, right? Why do they feel that they should have to give 100% if they feel that they're not going to get that chance, right? So when they do get given that chance, they're already ingrained in that kind of mentality that it doesn't really matter. We're not going to play the next game. So they don't put in the passion and desire that is expected if you're playing for Tottenham, right? What I saw against Sheffield United, for example, I saw one team that wanted it and one team that didn't. And it was clear to see which team it was. But if you actually ask someone who didn't know about football, who was the championship team, they wouldn't tell you. They would think we were the championship team. And it wasn't because of the quality of players. It's because of the lack of desire that they showed, right?
Reserve championship team, by the way.
Yeah, reserve championship team. Exactly. They're youngsters, right? And my problem is the fact that all of this, right, is because of the culture set at the club. Now, look, some people are going to say, oh, Conte has to have some blame for this and all this kind of stuff, right? Of course, every manager who manages this club, right, has to take blame for some of the decisions they make during games, the tactics, and all this kind of stuff. But what I don't blame Conte for is trying to stick by his philosophy and his idea of what he believes is the best way to achieve results at this club, whether or not it's playing good football or not. And it's clear to see we haven't been playing good football, right? So why I keep talking about the culture is because until that culture changes, we could get Pep, we could get Klopp, we could get Mason, we could get Guardiola, we could get Jesus Christ back from the dead. We could get anyone, and unless Levy wants the culture to change, it won't change. And this rebuild's not going to happen because what does it require, right? What does an owner require to do if they're going to rebuild a club? If I ask you that question, guys, what would an owner be required to do if we're going to rebuild?
What our owner is required to do for our rebuild?
Yeah,
fucking build from the back first and foremost.
When I say what does it take, like what do we need to actually build?
We need a plan.
Right, we need a plan. What else do we need?
I feel like I'm in school.
Money.
Right. You said two of the biggest things that we've never had in terms of we've never really done. Right.
Well, money.
So,
I mean, I
the
disagree
money,
because we've spent money. We've spent money. We just haven't spent it in the right areas.
But that's because it goes back. Yeah, but that goes back to number one, doesn't it? The plan that we never have, right? So, from what I've seen in the past, out of the way that we've hired and fired managers, the way that we've kind of tried things, and we've in the last 3 years we haven't even had a manager that's had a full season, right? How do fans expect and think that we're actually going to get a plan with the next manager? Like, because I don't believe that's going to happen. I don't believe that one bit. I don't know, and this is why I think personally, I think I think the fans are gonna be in for a treat. What's about to happen at this club over the next couple of years? Because people talk about they talk about a plan. They talk about wanting to rebuild under a young manager, play some good football, but for that plan to actually work, what else does it take? Right? It takes time. Right? How do we give a manager time when the fans are constantly calling out the managers, right? But on top of that, it's not just the fans, it's Levy not giving the time to the managers to implement a philosophy or style, what that manager wants. So there's so much stuff that's kind of misplaced, right? Around our club, surrounding our club. And you need all these little things to be in place together in order for something to work and for us to actually try and progress as a club. But we're not going to have any of those because there's too many variables that need to come together in order for it to work. And the problem is we won't get all of those variables. Either number one, Daniel Levy will sack the manager because he just, for whatever reason, either the players get sick of the manager, get sick of their tactics, they just stop trying for the manager, so they sack the manager. Or we're not finishing in the fourth position, our fourth position is getting away from us, so they sack the manager. And it's the same thing goes on and on again. So my annoying thing is about this situation is that Conte hasn't even had a full season, right? He hasn't even had 2 years in the job. He's been here less than 15 months. That is not a long time. How is a manager expected to change a culture within a club in 15 months? Pochettino didn't change a culture within the club in 15 months. He did it between 2 and 3 years. So how do fans expect like Luis Enrique or Almiron to come in and give us this kind of massive kind of culture shock, essentially, and that the board is going to be on board with it?
Do you not think Conte played into that a little bit, though, with the whole contract situation?
Say it again, sorry, Ben.
Do you not think Conte played into that whole short-termism, not being here for a long time, not being able to be given time because he didn't sign the contract for a long time? I know Daniel Levy didn't give him a contract for a long time, but surely something, I mean, if Conte kept saying, I need time and patience, then surely he should have been pushing for that contract.
Yeah, but again, it goes back to what I've always stated. Why should a manager sign a contract if he feels that he's not going to get what he wants to do his job, that he believes that he can do at this club in the way that he wants to do it? Well, that's a very good question, because I personally think, like what Jose Mourinho did, right? Because Jose Mourinho said it, and people forget this, that before he came, he was talking up how good this squad was, and do you remember his press conference when he first signed, when he signed as the Tottenham manager?
Win the league.
He said this club needs a couple more players and things like this, and he was talking how good the squad is. And then a couple months in, he's like, "Oh shit, they're not as good as I thought."
Yeah.
And this is what I'm saying. That it's the same thing about every manager that comes in to the club. Conte probably saw it and goes, "Do you know what? I can do with my kind of methods of how I train players and how I coach players. I believe I can do better with what we're seeing." And let's be honest, he did. When he came in, he did. We finished in the top 4. No one expected to finish in the top 4 last season. But now then, spin ahead to the summer, right? We finished 4th. Conte's looking at it and thinking, I've managed to get these players to 4th, right? Maybe all I need now is a couple more additions, and then we can kind of build the squad slowly, right? And we can. That's why he's saying it needs patience, it needs a lot of windows, it needs time, right? But then what's happened is, over the course of the season, what he's seen is what he kind of exploded to, said in the interview the other day, was that you're seeing inconsistencies with the players. You're seeing players lack concentration. You're seeing players lack motivation and desire from within themselves, and the heart to actually play for the badge that's on their chest. When you see that, how do you expect to kind of get the players and motivate them if they don't even want to be motivated themselves, right? Because they just don't care. And they're happy to kind of just be like, oh, well, we don't like the manager anymore. Let's just get another manager in. And that is basically what's happening, in my opinion. I think that's exactly what's happening. And it's just a bit annoying that my biggest thing is that I think the club should have given Conte some time to try and get out a lot of the crap and deadwood that we've had in this club for a long time, and get the players he wanted.
That sentence and put any manager in that.
Definitely. You definitely could. And it's just, look, to be honest with you, I genuinely don't care what manager comes in now. I'm at that point now where I've just lost the will with Spurs, to be honest with you.
Lucky for you, you're getting out of the country.
I know, thank God. I can. Well, I was going to say I can start watching some Ajax next season, but this season they're in a transitional period. So I'm hoping they can produce a couple of youngsters and buy a couple of Brazilians or something next season, and watch some good football next year. But look, the thing is with Tottenham, it's like if I'm going to look at it as a whole as it is now, the reality is it looks like Conte's going, so we have to kind of basically discuss kind of what's next to come, right? In terms of managers, there's only one manager I really feel that he could work within the constraints of the way this club works, and I think he wouldn't have a problem doing it because of the type of place he goes for and the markets he actually like looks in. And I stick by this. I think Gallardo would be an unbelievable coach at this club. The
But
way that his
we don't know though, do we, Danny? The kind of markets he works in, because he's never managed in European football.
he hasn't managed in European football. He's played in European football, right?
Yeah.
So
but
he
what I'm
knows
saying is he's only managed River Plate, right?
he's managing MLS as well.
Oh, the MLS as well. But what I'm saying is he's never managed in one of Europe's top leagues, so we don't know how he would act in a role like that and what kind of players he would bring in.
Yeah, of course. But look, let's be honest, Ben. What are we doing as a football club? Where are we?
No, I agree with you. I wouldn't mind seeing Gallardo through the door. I think
Like,
I think it would be one of the more exciting options.
yeah, look, I just for me, and do you know what, Ben? It's like I completely understand that, but it's like the club don't really care about winning trophies, right? So if we tick that off the list, okay, so then what's next for them? Top four. I don't really care about top four anymore because we've been in the top four out of the last 10 years. How many times have we been in the top four?
I think
And
6 or something.
Yeah, 6 or 7. No, I think it's a bit more, isn't it? Six or seven times.
I think it is.
Yeah, something. And what have we? How have we progressed as a club in the last 7 years? Like in terms of
we haven't.
Yeah, because what we've done.
The
is
only thing that we've had in the last 7 years is a new stadium, and that's what pisses me off. Because like all the reporters or managers, whenever they say anything, they like, "Oh, there's everything there to succeed at Tottenham. They've got a lovely stadium," and then it stops there.
yeah. This is exactly my point, and it's like, it's just like for me, like I think every single fan, right, kind of wants to see better football. Everyone can agree Conte's football has been just shambolic, right? But you can't deny what the results he's given, what the results he's got, right, out of the squad, out of the team that's got the 6th worst defense in the league. Technically, we are still in 4th position, and we're still in a chance to even finish 3rd, right? So that's why, for me, also, from Daniel Levy's point of view, I'm a bit confused if they do sack him, because let's be honest, he hasn't actually been sacked. It's just reporters saying he's on the verge. If it happens, it happens, right? But if it doesn't, I can see why it wouldn't, because I think Daniel Levy can see that there's more of a chance of getting that top 4 with Conte there than there isn't. Because let's face it, if Mason comes in on the interim, are you going to really trust Mason to try and achieve top 4? Like, it's just silly. So
what does Spurs do with we're hearing reports as well that a lot of the targets that Tottenham are looking at have a lot of the same reservations that Conte has. So what does Spurs do about that?
I read that article. I sent it to you guys, and I find it hilarious. I find it absolutely hilarious. For me, it's exactly what I wanted from Conte, so that he can tell the world exactly how this club is run and how the mentality and culture of this club is, because I'm sick and tired of managers coming into this club and getting shot down because they cannot implement the way that they want to implement their philosophy or their football, or be given a chance to build something, because the owner is quick to point the gun at them and shoot them every time the players get they throw a hissy fit because they don't like something about the manager. I'm fed up of it. And for me, I think this is the exact reason why Ten Hag didn't go to Spurs, right? It's because I think he wanted to rip it all up and start from scratch. And I don't think Tottenham wanted to do that, right? You can see what he's kind of trying to do at United, and I think he's doing a very good job. He's won a trophy there already. So this is what I'm talking about, the culture and mentality about this club. And for me, I think it's a good message, because it shows a lot of managers don't risk your career by coming here, because if you want to take that risk, then it's your decision, sort of thing. But I think he's trying to tell people as well, look, this is Tottenham. If you're happy to work under these kind of restrictions and constraints, then by all means give it a go, but you're not going to change it because Daniel Levy doesn't want to change it. Yeah, that's what he's kind of saying.
Like we're just going to end up with Pochettino, because he'll be the only one willing to come here.
Well, yeah, I mean, I was reading
or someone like Mason or Carrick or someone like that. You know what I mean?
Well, I saw a report. I saw two reports today, Ben. Right. So one of them was basically saying Pochettino might take the offer if he's offered the job, but he might not, and he might want to wait until the summer because there might be other opportunities. Right. So that would be if Real Madrid came up. How funny would that be if he went to Real Madrid? That'd be hilarious. And the other thing I saw was that there's people. I saw a report from I can't remember who it was, but it was saying about how there's people in the hierarchy that think Mason could be long term. it's like oh, this club, man. I think if
And
we
that
hire
report
Ryan
would
Mason,
never come out if Arteta wasn't the Arsenal manager.
yeah. I agree. No, I agree. But the thing is, Arteta was actually a decent player when he played football. Ryan Mason wasn't. That's the difference. Arteta actually won trophies with Arsenal as a player. What's Ryan Mason? What did he? I know he had the unfortunate circumstances with the injury and stuff, but he was still never a good enough player to ever reach that kind of level of being a player to win a trophy.
I mean, we sold him to Hull, didn't we?
Yeah, we sold him to Hull, exactly. But this is why I say about the way the club is. It's like Daniel Levy has to be friends with everyone, right? And one of the ways you can understand this is like do you remember that interview of Jose Mourinho and Danny Rose? When they were in his office, in Jose's office, and they were talking about why he's not playing, and he was upset that he's training hard, didn't get chances, and he thought that he had better performances than others. And then when they were talking about something, he said something like, I'll go and call Daniel then. They were talking about Danny Rose didn't agree with what he was saying. He goes, okay, I'll go and call Daniel then. Like Daniel's his mate or something, right? And this is what I'm saying about in this type of scenario, Daniel Levy, the chairman of a multi-billion-pound football club, should not be friends with football players, right? Because when you become friends with them, it makes it harder for you to kind of fire them or do this and that. Look how long Rose stayed at Tottenham, right? He wasn't even playing for his last year at Spurs. He was in the reserves, right? And that's because of the disagreements that they have within the club. And it's because of the mentality set by the owners of this club. And yeah, it's just sad to see, man. It's just sad to see that I think anyone who comes in, if someone like Luis Enrique comes in, we'll be talking about him in the next 18 months, 24 months, about Absolutely. And we'll just talk about Ryan Mason again. Like maybe he'll be interim manager again. Do you know what? Do you know what I think Spurs should do? I think Spurs should hire Ryan Mason as a permanent interim manager so that every time they sack their manager, Ryan Mason automatically goes in. I think
he's our new David Pleat.
He's our new David Pleat, exactly. I think that's what his role is going to be. I think, I mean, look, I want to ask you guys, because I believe someone like, the reason why I said Gallardo is because he's an unknown, right? He's not working for anyone at the moment, right? So he wouldn't cost anything to bring in, right? If you look at the way that he managed River Plate and the restrictions he had at River Plate and what he did with the players there, his philosophy is based upon players who are maybe not amazing players, but who are very technically gifted players, right? Because they can play good, neat attacking football. They can play that type of football. And that's why I think, and the money he also did spend at River Plate. And I think you could use that philosophy and transfer it into Tottenham because, let's face it, we're not a club that's going to challenge for Champions League. We're not a club that's going to challenge for the Premier League anytime soon. We're not a club that's going to challenge for trophies. So why don't we try and do something different, right? It's kind of like how we did when we were with Poch, if we're going to do something. Like, try and get a manager in that is going to be able to spend, like, not a lot of money or to start with. Just try and get just good, technically gifted players and try and implement a philosophy and maybe give him time. But again, I think if something like that happens again and we get to like a Poch scenario where he overachieves, he does really well, we finish second in the league, you know what's going to happen again? It's going to be that same conversation where can I get that slightly better player? And sorry, mate, you can't really. And
there are no players on the market that's better than what we have in the current squad. That's what they told us then.
Oh my God, yeah, I want to ask you kind of who do you want as the next manager? Because I think it looks like it's inevitable, right, that Conte is going to leave.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think out of all the managers on the list right now, I think Pochettino is the only one that can come in and potentially work, not even definitely work, just like with a slight glimmer of hope. I mean, I'm looking at Tuchel, that's not going to work. Luis Enrique, that's not going to work. Amorim, I don't know if that's going to work. I mean, I can't see any of these managers working. Gallardo, yeah, I can see that could potentially work, but we need a low maintenance manager that's just going to be a yes man for Daniel Levy, pretty much. That's the only way a manager can work here.
So do you think they will then, in that case, then Poch, I don't think would be a yes man because obviously of what happened to him before. I think if we're going to talk about a yes man, I think the only one really on that list is probably Mason, right? Because he's never managed before.
The thing is with Pochettino, I think that a lot of the signings that we have made under Paratici, I've told you before that I think they can work under Pochettino. I think they're good Poch players. But again, if Poch does come in, then that gives us an uncomfortable conversation about our senior players like Kane and Son and stuff like that. Yeah. But I don't know. I'm pretty lost with the whole situation, to be honest.
Yeah, I know what you mean, Ben. Like I'm kind of the same at the moment. Like with Pochettino, the one reason that I kind of think that he won't say yes to a job right now unless he's got assurances. Maybe he will because he loves Tottenham, right? But do you think he's going to want to come back to the club to just try and compete for top four? Because when he was here originally, he actually didn't want to. He wanted to compete for the title in the Premier League, and he wanted to compete for the Champions League trophy. He scrapped all the cup competitions because we never had a squad deep enough to actually maintain that level of consistency across all competitions. So he used to ditch them because we were always trying to compete for the top trophy, right? Do you think he's gonna not want the same thing again if he comes back?
He'll want to build to that level, yeah. He will want to build to that level, and he's done it under this ownership before, so hopefully he can do it again.
Yeah, but then we're going to be in the same situation. If in a hypothetical situation, he comes back, he then gets the squad to a level where maybe they can push on, and then he's going to have those same conversations you had with Daniel before, and say, well, are you going to take the level up now, or are you going to keep it the same?
But I do
you think he's going to want to come back if he's not going to get assurances that he is going to be able to take the club to the next level?
I think that Daniel Levy will tell him that he's able to take the club to the next level. I mean, we brought in Jose Mourinho through this door. We brought in Antonio Conte through this door, and they thought they could take the club to the next level. So Poch will definitely back himself to think he can take this club to the next level for sure. And you know what? The club is in a much different space now as when Poch was last here as well.
Do you know, I get what you're saying, right? But I still struggle to understand one part of it, which is the fact that you said that Conte came here and believed that he could take the club to the next level, and so did Jose, right? And obviously Poch did it. He actually took the club to the next level. But the difference between them managers is we're talking about a manager who's going to come back to a club, and you have to remember the way that it all ended at the club, right? Yeah. It ended because he was fed up of the way the club was being run because they weren't, what was the words he used? They weren't putting the furniture inside the home, right? Yeah. That he wanted. Yeah. So why would he then come back if he's not going to get the chance to put the furniture inside the home, which is what he wanted originally, if he's not going to get that assurance? Because out of anyone, Poch probably knows more than anyone what Daniel Levy's like, because he's the one that took the club the furthest, right, that we've ever seen in the Premier League era. And we're going to expect him to come back and kind of settle for what he had at the beginning of his tenure. I just can't see Poch wanting to come back if he's not going to get that guarantee that he's going to be able to put the furniture he wanted to put in the first place into the house that we built.
Yeah, look, I can get that way of thinking, but I think Poch has been very clear in many interviews that he's got unfinished business here. He loves the club like we do. And I think he'd be very much open to coming back. I really do. I mean, I know what you're saying, and yeah, that is definitely, definitely a factor for sure. But I think he would back himself to do it. I really do.
Yeah, I don't doubt that he won't back himself. I think he does doubt. I think he does back himself. My doubt is the fact that does he doubt that Levy is going to give him what he wanted originally? And that's what I think that he will be thinking.
Of course, he'll be doubting it. But I still think he thinks he can make it work.
Well, then, if he can, right, then we'll see what happens if he does come back. But for me, I just see it going the other way. I just see
maybe his love for the club is blinding his actual thought process or something. I don't know.
This is exactly what I think, Ben. That's exactly what you took the words out of my mouth. I kind of think that he is so in love with Spurs that he would do anything to come back to just get that chance to try and do what he wanted to do originally. And he believes, like you said, he backs himself that he can get Levy to change his mind to kind of give him more of what he wants. I believe Levy will never change, regardless of whoever comes into this club. And that's why I just think Poch wouldn't work if he came in. That's why I would rather see something different that we haven't seen before with a different manager and a different type of football. Because Poch's football wasn't like an attacking, free-flowing football. It was a high-press, counter type of style football. It was a high-octane football where we would just suffocate teams from the front, right? And we just break really quickly. And we were very quick. But I want to see a different type of football at Spurs. If I'm going to see, I want to see proper attacking football. If I'm gonna see something different, and that's kind of how I feel, and that's why I think Gallardo is a punt, right? He's not a given. No, to be fair, look, no managers are given at this club, right? No manager is a given.
100% right.
So for me, yeah, I just because of the values of what Gallardo has and his style of play, I think the fans would love his style of play, and I think he would be a great shout.
All right, Danny, always good to chat to you, my friend, and we'll speak to you soon.
Cheers, boys. Take it easy, man.
See you later, man. All right, let's keep going, people. A few super chats have come in. Michael Helman says the fans' perspective needs to recalibrate. We hired Conte at the wrong moment of development. Bring back Poch or someone with a long-term perspective. I think that's definitely the way that they want to go in. Cornane is saying stop hiring top managers when we are not a top club.
Damn right.
Absolutely. Aravind is saying, by the way, this is a members chat, 29 months,
Wow,
Aravind. Big
up.
up yourself. He says, wanted to say something positive. Member for 29 months. We are Tottenham TV to reach 200K by the end of the year. And Daniel Levy leaves this club. I mean, what a year that would be.
Come on, let's hope it come. We have to will it into fruition.
And Michael Hellman says the solution is to sell the club. And Phil P saying, what are you wearing to the Spurs funeral? Rest in peace, Tottenham Hotspur.
All black.
Bring on Elias. How you doing, Elias?
Not very happy today. I mean, I'm struggling to put up a smile today. But
You're doing a good job.
first of all, I'd like to say a big congratulations to every single one of you who wanted Conte out. You guys got the job done. I mean, like, standing ovation to you guys. Seriously, like, all of you were so united last 2-3 weeks just to get Conte out, and now he's going out. Celebrate, guys! It's time to celebrate for all of you. I am, I really don't have words to describe like the blood that is on all on the hands of you guys. Seriously, like, I mean, we sacked another world class manager, and yet we haven't won a trophy. It just is. It just puts it in proper words, like what kind of club we are, where what kind of mindset we have. We every single season, or every other 2-3 season, we do that to managers. I really don't know, like, why we have that sort of a mindset in our club that managers are always the problem, and whenever it happens we want to see attractive football and all that. I don't know if we would see that attacking football ever again, or even if we would see a better football after that again. I really don't know, seriously. This whole Conte out saga has just drained me, if I were to be really honest.
Elias, well, after what Conte said like after the Southampton game, was there any way back for him if he has lost the majority of the support of the squad, like reports are suggesting?
There was a way back. If Daniel Levy were to give Conte the full authority of the club, if full authority in a way, if he would have given him certain powers, if he would have allowed him that, okay, you run the club, I give you a certain time period, you do what you want to do, like what Arsenal gave to Arteta when he was losing the dressing room. He got rid of players. If Conte were to be given that sort of a position, that sort of a power, I think we could have seen something better. The very fact that actually that we are seeing that just after some form of criticism like that, we are seeing that he's losing the support in the dressing room. It just says it all. I mean, my bosses sometimes say worse things to me than what Conte said about the players in public sometimes even. But I mean, I still work for my boss, by the way. If these players at that level of
Elias, it's
football,
time to
at
throw
that
your
level,
boss under the bus.
yeah, maybe I should. Yeah, I mean, no, I'll be very honest with you. I once tried to throw my boss under the bus, and his boss really told me off. Like, who are you to actually come and tell me something like that? If Daniel Levy were to be someone like that, then he would have given Antonio Conte that sort of power, and he said that yes, if this play is not working for you, I will get rid of him. I want to win. If Daniel Levy had that winning mindset, had that developmental mindset in him, he would have done that. And I actually sometimes thank my big boss that actually he didn't let me throw my boss under that bus. And I think that's how it should be at times. Sometimes you need to trust the leadership that you have in the club, because that's why the leaders are in that place as well. Like, if there's no respect, there's no mutual respect among the leaders, like Daniel Levy and Conte, and the players are so big, they have such a big personality that they can just throw a manager under the bus every 2 3 seasons. Then I don't know what we are like. It tells just the mentality of the players. Tell us all about it. Like, I think we all have seen that viral video by Eric Dyer, and there are rumors going on about that now. The players are so big to a certain level. They are so frank with Daniel Levy to a certain extent. I was hearing in one of the podcasts that they call Daniel Levy Danny to a certain extent and all that. Like, they are nearer to Daniel Levy to a certain extent because they have been there for years. And uh, our manager doesn't have that power or and that access or that sort of a relationship with the owner. It's just horrific. It just shows you that our players are bigger than the club.
So what's the plan now? Who do you want in next?
Whoever comes in, I think we all know it's gonna be same old nonsense, same old problems. Nothing is gonna work out for us. uh it's gonna be same old nonsense again. I mean, you might see like a managerial bounce. Like, let's just say Poch comes in 6 months, we will play well. Suddenly Poch might have developed himself, he would have developed somehow his tactics, we might see slightly more different football. Teams may struggle to figure our tactics out, and then after 6 7 months again, the same old nonsense would happen again. Poch would not get all the technical players that he needs, and then he would we will see all the same nonsense. I think we know that what happened with Conte as well, the managerial bounce, then suddenly teams predict you. It's, to me, I think it doesn't really make a difference. But I would just say, like, I mean, now whoever the manager would be, I mean, I would back the manager regardless of whoever that is. I would never back Daniel Levy. I would never, ever, ever back Daniel Levy. But I mean, if it's Poch who's coming back, my respect for him would be a little bit less that he's coming back now after what Daniel Levy did to him in 2019. I don't think I can respect Poch the same way I used to see him as a manager back then, because he is just coming back to step his foot into the mud, into really a lot of nonsense, really. If
Mm.
he comes back, I really don't know how to describe him. But still, the fact that he loves the club, he has that sentimentality. I understand that that's actually a problem with our fans as well. We can be sometimes a bit too sentimental. It The fact that he is taking that step also, I mean, I salute him. But seriously, nothing is gonna work out as long as Daniel Levy is there.
Yeah. What do you expect now with Mason set to take over from now to the end of the season? We're hearing, like, what do the club expect to happen for these last 10 games?
If it's Mason for the last 10 games, Europa, sorry, the Conference League next year, we'll be playing NS Mura again. We'll be losing to them again, 2-0, 3-0. We'll be losing to all those teams again. Vitesse, NS Mura, we'll be playing there. So, guys, please don't get any Champions League tickets yet for next year. Don't make your hotel bookings for next year yet. We are gonna play Conference League. If it's Ryan Mason won't be able to bring us even into the Europa League. I think Chelsea might even finish above us with the kind of situation we are in, because we have really we as fans, I would say, I think somehow have bottled it to a certain extent. The way we have been united over the past few weeks to just get Conte out and all that. If would have been that united even to get Levy out, I think the club would have at least felt a bit of pressure, and I think our January window could have been a better window. But the fact that we went after Conte I am speechless. The amount of content, the amount of tweets I saw against Conte over the last few weeks and all that, it's really bizarre. I will be, if I will be really honest. That's why you fans are the real problem. I'll say.
Thank you so much, Elias. Thank you for coming on, and we'll speak to you next time.
Thanks, man, and say, man, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. We've got another super chat here from Brains. He says Conte himself was leading the Conte out march. He gave that presser. He didn't want to be here. Also, what players have been thrown? Also, what players have threw him under the bus?
What players? I don't know what specific players. I think it's just. I think first of all, probably a lot of the players that aren't playing, that have maybe festered a bad atmosphere around. And Conte just demands the best. And you could argue at him not wanting to be here, but he just wants the best for his team.
Yeah, totally agree. Let's bring on Aravind. Aravind, member for 29 months, my friend. How are you? You're on mute.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes.
So irritating. So irritating. Day by day, there's some bullshit which happens in this club. I don't understand.
Never
Seriously.
ending, is it, Aravind? Never ending. Constant stream of bullshit.
We're going to be linked with another 10,500 managers before we hire one. Again, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. For me, right now, like, people are saying Conte out. I do agree with it. Agree with it in the meaning that the board agrees with it. But I don't understand why would the board sack Conte, right? This they want top four. We are in the fourth position. Like, forget the fans. What the board wants is top four. And Ryan Mason to do his job. The last time when they got Ryan Mason, the reason was it because Jose Mourinho was seventh in the league, and he just sacked him so that there wasn't much of compensation and there's no chance of finishing fourth. We're still in that slither position to get that fourth right now. So it's a big question from the board. Why are they going to sack him right now? Why are they really going to sack him right now? I agree with the fact that he's spoken about the players, whether they turn up or not depends upon how it goes with Everton. But I really feel if they're sacking Conte right now, there is 120% someone in the background which is going to come in immediately right now. I don't think so. Ryan Mason is going to be the person taking in charge against Everton. Someone in place right now. Either it's Mauricio Pochettino or someone. I really feel something is happening in background before the announce. Before the announce, it's going to be the same way when they sacked Poch. They sacked Poch. The next day announced Jose Mourinho. They're going to sack Antonio Conte, and the next day they're going to announce another manager.
But Aravind, I mean, I'd love to think that is the case. But I mean, when we sacked Jose Mourinho 6 days before a cup final, we brought in Ryan Mason, and then when he left, it took us 72 days to hire our next manager, which was
Yeah,
Nuno.
that's what I don't think, because I don't believe in Daniel Levy that as much as that is, but this time he's not going to take the approach. He's really going to, because let's look at some top managers which they're looking. Enrique is looking for the management and job, so he's there in spot. Mauricio Pochettino is without a club, so he's there in spot. These are the two players which are looking for clubs, right? So I don't see, if they really want him, they can get him right now. So I don't see the argument behind why they can't get their top two targets which they really want. So these are the two managers which are out of job. They're not with the last time it's a different position. Mauricio Pochettino was at PSG. There were a lot of managers splintering around in different clubs. There wasn't much managers which we really wanted for our profile, right? There wasn't much managers we really wanted for our profile. There were a lot of managers which were in the positions before. But right now it's a different case. There are a lot of managers available in the market, which I really feel they can get in right now. But the same thing, is it really going to change anything? I'm going to this time I'm going with I'm not going with any expectation. I think so. This club really succeed when there is any expectation, right? So this time I don't have any expectations. Get anyone they want, but I would get back Pochettino if they really if they because he knows how he works with the club, and I want to really see Eric Dyer and Ben Davis, do they really start under Mauricio Pochettino, because he knows these players really
They
well.
didn't last time he was here.
Sorry.
They didn't last time he was here in the back end of his
Yeah,
tenure.
so that's what I want to see if they really if they're gonna start or just start some youngster, man. Just get some player in the academy. Just start Charlie Sawyers. Just start anyone. I can't see that defense one by one, but that's one advantage. We'll be playing a back four, so it's gonna be Pedro Porro, Romero. Just start some other center back and left back. Who's going to be a left back? We don't have a left back in our team. If we're going to play a back four, Ryan Sessegnon is injured. Perisic can't play in the left. He can't play left back. We don't have a left back, so
Yeah.
it's
At least we got a Dogi coming in next year, eh, Aravind?
yeah. But what about? Yep, that's another player which we're going to get back. So defensive wise, we need to get another defender and a goalkeeper. So it's a new defense and a goalkeeper, so it's a new whole. It's going to be a new whole thing. But the next question, but I really want something to happen this time, right? Get Mauricio Pochettino, give him 3 years of time. Let him next season. We're not going to finish top six. Forget it. Finish six. This time, sorry to say, sell Heung-min Son, sell Harry Kane, build from scratch. I don't understand why we're keeping hold of these players. It's
Surely
not
there's a
good.
lot more players that need to go out the exit door
Yeah,
before
I'm
then,
saying
though.
I'm with the process, right? I keep on saying it's a more of a process than what we see for next year. Eric Dyer, Ben Davis, Davinson Sanchez, Ryan Sessegnon, Heung-min Son, Harry Kane. Start from the scratch. Do everything from the scratch. But will this board do it? They won't do it. We're going to see the same thing again. If we're going to finish eighth, seventh, we're going to sack this manager because we haven't satisfied what Daniel Levy asked for. It's going to be the same thing. If this was an ambitious owner, we would have gotten this manager before, or we would have given what Antonio Conte asked for. So it's going to be the same thing. But if you're going to get Mauricio Pochettino, give him 3 years, 3 years, 4 years. Don't don't back him. If we are going to get these type of managers, we need to back him. It's not going to happen in a year's time. We'll finish seventh. We'll finish eighth for 2 seasons in a row. When Arteta came in under Arsenal for them, I'm taking that example. They didn't expect them to win titles for the first 2 years. They got the players. They did not get world class players, which everyone expected. No one expected Martinelli to become a really good player. No one expected Martin Odegaard to be the next best player. No one expected any of these youngsters to be the next best players, but they got a process. They got a really good scout. They got everyone to work within each another, and they built it. And the project will go somewhere. It happened last time with us. We didn't expect us to challenge for titles when Mauricio Pochettino came. So just get a manager. Let's see where it goes, and hopefully, it's more of a luck than what I expect. No
So,
expectations. Just go for
so
the
you,
luck.
you wouldn't want a manager like Enrique or Tuchel, one of these managers.
No, Enrique, no Conte, no one. I don't want. It's not going to work. It's not working. Get a youngster who knows how to work uh, with a shoestring of a budget. That's what happened. Actually, to be really honest, everyone says shoestring of a budget. That's not the fact. We spend 150 million. How do we spend that 150 million? That is the most important thing. We spend a lot with Mauricio Pochettino the last window of his. How are we going to spend the money? Who's the scouts? Give him what he does. The only advantage is Daniel Levy hopefully may trust Mauricio Pochettino than other managers because they keep on talking in call with each another. He's been saying that we have conversations frequently. So that is something that's something which may happen. It's just a guess, more of a guess. No Enrique, no top managers. Enrique is going to be the same type of. He's going to demand a lot of stuff. When that is demand, that isn't success under this ownership. It's going to be a young manager working under a new project. It's going to be a new project. we need, as much as I really want Kane and Son to succeed in this club, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Sorry to say. New project, new philosophy. I keep on saying this. It's called Project Restart. We need to do that.
Project Restart. Let's go. Aravind, thank
Project-
you for coming on today, my friend.
Yep. Hopefully, I mean, even to say "Come on, you Spurs" is not the same feeling as last time. But come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs. Big up, Aravind. Thanks for coming on. We've got some more guests, I think, in the back end as well. Who have we got? Perchy. Let's bring Perchy on. Perchy,
Hi then, lads.
another day in paradise, my friend. The Tottenham Groundhog Day is upon us once again. How you feeling?
It's like a circus, this football club, isn't it?
Sorry, say that
It's
again.
an
You just
absolute
cut out for a second.
It's a circus here.
Yeah, absolutely is. I mean,
Absolute circus.
you were the ones that wanted Conte out, weren't you?
It's not necessarily I wanted Conte out, and it concedes that. But for me, the biggest problem I don't like is football.
Mm.
So I can't stand the way he plays. But the biggest problem here is everything, isn't it?
Yeah.
We're just crazy how we operate. And by the way, guys, are you getting the echo?
Is
No,
that
we
an
can't
echo?
hear an echo, but you keep cutting out from time to time.
1 second. Let me see what's got. Because I'm hearing myself.
Okay.
I don't know. It doesn't matter. Yeah, no. So basically, with me, whole situation, I didn't really want Conte out, but it was more the sense of he needs to take accountability for certain things.
Yeah.
I think Sava made a good point. It's a big pie, and everyone's got to take their own responsibility at whatever size of their slice of the pie. Daniel Levy has to take a massive problem here. He's the biggest issue at this football club.
Of
From
course.
a country mile. I think collectively we all agree on that.
Yeah.
My biggest issue though is we all talking about managers. Who cares? People are saying, "Oh, let's get Enrique, Pochettino, De Zerbi." Doesn't matter because it's the same cycle. We'll be here in 2 years' time, boys. I can't wait to be on the show in 2 years' time. When we're talking
2
about the
years,
next
2
manager
years,
that's
2
gone.
years will be 2 managers' time. Never mind the next manager.
Probably. But it's a massive issue at this club at the moment, and it's a problem that systematic issues. Because I've noticed a lot on social media at the moment. It's all about one person. No, for me, it's everything. I'm not anyone out. I'm everyone out. Gut the place. Tea ladies, everyone, all go. I'm being
The
serious.
kit man, get them all out.
No, because the thing is everyone's got to take accountability. We all sit there and people want to push the way that they certainly move and stuff. So I'm massively Levy out, but I do look at it from a broader perspective. So I look at it from the manager's got to take responsibility. The players have got to take responsibility. There's so much rubbish at this football club. The majority of the players. Have I cut out? You can't hear me, right?
No.
Yeah, we can hear you.
No, because the echo's disappeared, so it's something's happened in the background. I think Aravind mentioned in that just before me mentioned some brilliant stuff. He said about 3 years. We need longer than 3 years. We need to stick one manager in and give him half a decade at least. 5 years. You have to, because it's going to take more than 3 years to gut some of this rubbish out. And you boys know I'm the biggest advocate of Harry Kane, but now we have to look at the future. We have to look past Harry Kane and Heung-min Son and Hugo Lloris. We need to be looking at building a young football squad and starting again.
So you selling Kane in the summer?
I don't even think it's about selling Kane in the summer. I think it's more about where is the next step after Harry Kane. for me, we sell him or we keep him. It really doesn't matter. Because I look at it broader than that. I look at it further than one more season. Would I like Harry Kane to stay? Of course I do. But do I also think him being so good is also part of the problem? And I hear me out before people in the comments completely destroy me. I'm not saying Harry Kane's the problem at the club, but I said him being so good is papering over so many cracks at this football club. Without Harry Kane, we're an absolute mid-table side. And I don't care what anyone says, we're mid-table. Harry Kane has dragged this football club over the line for about 10 years. It's incredible. And without him, without his goals, without his quality on the pitch, we don't look very good. You see that even when he plays, we don't look very good. And I don't know if that's the tactics. The talks are that Ryan Mason's going to be the one to come in. I'm not even adverse to that. Because does it really matter? As I said on my stream, it doesn't. Even if Donald Duck was in charge, it wouldn't make any difference. It really wouldn't, though, would it? We'd all have a party, though.
It does kind of feel that way, but I do feel that someone like a Pochettino or someone of that ilk can come in and work maybe with the players that we do have. I know there is not all the players, because a lot of these players need to go, but a lot of these players that have come in under Paratici, your Basumas, your Bentancurs, your Brian Hills, your Kulusevskis, good players. And I think that Pochettino can get a tune out of them. Obviously, he's going to need more and investment over the next couple of summers, but we need to hire a manager, like you say, stick with a manager and see where it takes us. And I mean, when you're looking at Pochettino, he loves the club. He's desperate to come back. So why not bring him in?
I think there's several reasons why not to bring him in.
Go on.
And and again, another thing that people always slander me, I love Pochettino at this club. But I feel like if we think about it now, are we only talking about him because he's ex-Spurs? Like, think about it. If he was any other manager, I don't think we'd ever even be talking about him. And I say this with absolute due respect to the man, because I love the guy. And I thought when he was here, he actually created a culture at this club where we actually loved our football club. Since he's gone, I don't think many people love it anymore. I don't love us anymore. I withstand us at the moment.
Yeah.
I barely even watch us play anymore. I mean, it's on in the background kind of attitude.
Yeah.
I mean, and that kind of that sort of sets the tone for me at the moment. We're not that great, but I think we also, as a fan base, we need to lower our expectations a bit. And I say that with due respect, because I don't think we're anywhere near winning trophies. Let's put that aside for a second before people think that the next manager that comes in is going to win us stuff. They're not. Doesn't matter who it is. We could have Pep Guardiola and he wouldn't win anything at with our squad and the way that we operate. I think we're so far from winning anything that I think we need to sort of lower our expectations and try and get to a stage where we build. I genuinely said, and I said it out of absolute respect, and people mock me, I'd have that lad from that Will Steele lad who manages in France. He's 30 years of age. Get him in. Listen, he can't do any worse, and at least then if you give him...
Imagine Levy paying the fines every week for him not having his coaching badges.
We're the sort of people that go like, but probably not. But I'm more talking about it retrospectively, because the thing is the way I look at it and going, no elite manager is ever winning stuff at Tottenham Hotspur. We've done it. We've tried it twice, and it's failed twice. And I think that's the key part for me. Until we start thinking further forward than, we've got a good manager. People telling me Thomas Tuchel. Why? I don't want another ex-Chelsea manager. Don't want another ex-Chelsea manager in. I will say from day one, if we get another ex-Chelsea manager in, I don't want him here from day one. End of story, because I can't stand it. It was hard enough having Jose and Conte. I mean, AVB was terrible, but I'm just sort of at that point now. I don't even care anymore. Listen, I just want us to enjoy football again. And can Mason do that? Probably, because we've got nothing to play for. At least he'll have a bit of spirit in the team, maybe.
At least if Mason comes in, like, expectations will be at an all-time low.
According to Paul O'Keefe, Spurs are exploring something, maybe a new long-term coach to appoint imminently. But if they can't pull it off, they will just appoint Mason.
Well, I saw that the Frankfurt bloke has dropped massively on odds, and Again, I'm not even too bothered by him. I can't really comment if he's any good. I can't really judge that. Haven't seen
It's that
enough of him.
Glasner. Yeah.
Yeah, but then he did take Frankfurt to a European final. So listen, I think we've got a good enough squad to be in and around it. I think we have so much dead wood that needs to be sorted. But this is a manager now that needs to come in, not for 2 years, not for 18 months, not for 3. I think we need someone in for 5 years. And no matter what, if we finish 4th or 14th, we stick it out. We have to. But we know how these owners operate.
Yeah.
Champions League money is more important than anything else, than a long-term project.
You know, we hear murmurings coming out from various reports or whatever over the past 6 months to a year, whatever it may be. The murmurings were that people on the board, on the hierarchy, don't seem to think like they're doing anything wrong at this football club. I mean, how much of a lack of self-awareness can you have when the last 4 years, if not more, have been a complete waste of our time? How can they think they're not doing anything wrong at this football club?
Let's be honest. To them, they're not doing a bad job. They're doing an amazing job at this football club. Not what us fans think, by the way. Us fans want more than this. But them as a board are doing exactly what they set out for. Listen, people need to remember, Daniel Levy was the one that came out and said, football, we're not here for emotion, we're here to make money. They told us that. So why are we surprised that they're acting like that? Why they think that they're doing a good job? Of course they are. Their board members are sat there going, every single year, Daniel, you're making me money after money after money. Of course, why wouldn't they? And I think that's the part for me. People miss that part because everyone goes, Levy out, ENIC out. But I said, the board are sitting there going, Daniel, you're making us a load of money. You're doing a fabulous job. Okay, we're going to go and bring in more sponsorships and stuff. Whilst we're all sat there paying some of the highest season ticket prices in world football, watching absolute dross.
Yeah.
Absolute dross. We're in the top 5 in the world, by the way. In the world. Below Barcelona, Arsenal and stuff. And I think there was another team.
The rest.
No, Man City's are below us.
Yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think Barcelona's are the only one. I think Barcelona's are the highest out of in the world, and we're like 2nd or 3rd. I think Arsenal's there and thereabouts with us as well.
Yeah, but I think we're just above Arsenal in ticket prices.
Yeah, I think so as well. But it's unacceptable. It's why I don't go anymore, boys. I don't go. I travel away. Went to Milan. You saw me out there, but I don't go to games anymore. Partly I moved. Helps not going, but I don't. People need to stop going. We need to collectively, as a unity, stop going to that stadium, because however beautiful it looks on the outside, every time you step in, it's a poison chalice because it's enabling the problem. I think that's my personal opinion. But
all right, Perchy. Well, thanks for coming on today. Very stressful day. Always a stressful day being a Tottenham fan, but it's good that we can chat it out together.
It's all part of the fun and the journey of this club at the moment. I mean, the only time it's
the journey to nowhere.
Well, it's turned out when we all said it's always chaos at this football club, but I feel like the only time it's not normal is when it is a normal day. It feels like every day something mental comes out. I can't wait for the next one. It's like an ongoing soap opera that we're all 100%. Stuck in and can't get out of. But boys, thanks for having me on.
No problem, mate. Have a good day.
Take it easy, boys.
All right, let's keep going. Look who we have here. Now we're getting to the real problem. The real problem is Brains McLeod.
How fucking dare you? How
Brains.
dare you?
How you doing,
silly
man?
Bitch. Yeah, these are some pretty... Talk about toxic. These are some pretty shocking ideas that are starting to be thrown around by fans. So I thought we were a little bit more sensible than this. Like, I say shit like, burn it all down, fire them all, kill them all. I say that shit joking.
And
like,
I say, I'm with you.
Yeah, but listen, like, Harry Kane's too good, fire him, get rid of him. Like, come on. Like, we would be in the championship. We may even be lower than the championship without Harry Kane. you can't you can't punish the best players. You know, like obviously you've got to keep.
Punishing them would be keeping them here.
True, it's a punishment either way, but in reality, Harry Kane loves the club. So, and some of his friends are here, like, and he's got a happy life here. I don't buy the whole thing of like Harry Kane has to move to another club to find happiness. The dude's content. He gets paid a hell of a lot of money. He scores 20 plus goals a season. He's considered a god. Yeah, that's made it in life, you know. Like,
Yeah, but will he sign a contract if we're again in the same situation as we were 2 years ago?
I think he probably would. I think if Levy says we'll pay you 400k, he'll do it. Like what?
So
like,
why
think
did he want
about
out 2 years ago then?
He wasn't getting paid. That he did sign an increase, didn't he?
No, he hasn't.
No.
Didn't he sign an increase? Didn't he like sign
Well,
again?
no,
Wasn't
no.
he on his?
No.
So what is
He's
he on?
still on the
200.
same- Yeah, he's on 200, the same contract as he was on 2 years ago.
Well, then he definitely doesn't care about, you know, having to go. I think he'll a little bit of an increase and he'll stay. Probably 300 would probably keep
How
him.
does that say definitely he doesn't case? That says to me that he's running down his contract so he can go wherever he wants.
Well, yeah, that could be a case. He might be just wanting to see it out. I could see him seeing out his contract. That's one thing, but I don't know, man. I just don't buy that he's the type of player in person that feels like I've got to go to the biggest team in the world and easily win a piece of fucking plastic. You know, like he doesn't strike me like that. Like he just doesn't. And I think we should be celebrating someone for the fact that he stayed all this time. I don't think. One, I think it's a sidestep. I don't think we should be talking about we shouldn't be talking about getting rid of Harry Kane. He is the life and soul of the club. We literally, you know, this season we're talking about, you know, players through Conte under the bus. I just don't buy it. It's too simplistic. I don't buy it. Like what players? Like this season, I don't also believe that. Okay, we've been playing dreadful football, which is Conte's strategy. We have really bad defense, so he fears that we aren't good enough to protect that defense. So then he doesn't play attacking football, which is what I think you would do. You know, he tries to like make sure everyone protects the defense. Like, but if you look at it in some of the times that we have attacked, and you can see that some of the signings that we've had, we have been building a good team. We have been building a better team. Like we do have good, like better players, and next season we would have. I would say all you need to do is bring in incredible centre backs, and you actually have a really, really, really competitive, strong 11, 12 players. I would obviously want them to bring in, you know, reinforcements. Bentancur is now out for maybe half of next season. I think so. So it's not a case of like get rid of everything. It's get rid of Tanganga, Sanchez, Dyer, Davies, like get rid of them, even though Davies is
keep going, Ndombele, Lo Celso, Winks, you know, you can go on forever.
Get rid of all that. But a lot of that, like I don't think I look at it and say, I think it simply comes down to the defense isn't strong enough to compete. And when I say compete, it's not strong enough to like fight for a title. It's not strong enough to like, and obviously this season's been a wacky season, so I don't think we deserve to be in fourth, but we're in fourth. So it's like, I don't think Conte was ever the right manager. He was never going to get backed. It was always just to appease us at the start. We had a little bit of a, you know, manager bounce. Everyone kind of feels like, yeah, this is a big winner, but he is the guy to like win now. He was never going to be this guy who was going to be long term. He throws a fit towards the end of every, you know, period that he's at with any clubs. He loses dressing rooms. We know that from the past as well. Like, so I don't really see. The one thing that bothers me is this, you know, it's everyone else's fault, and it's got nothing to do with Conte. That drives me nuts.
See, I disagree, because I don't ever think that was the narrative. I don't think anyone's saying nothing is Conte's fault. I mean, obviously, he has to take his share of the blame as well with Conte, but the fact of the matter is we're in this situation with any manager we hire, so it can't consistently be the manager's fault every single time, like solely.
Yeah, but like, so we get rid of Pochettino, and I'd argue we're playing attacking football through most of the tenure of Pochettino. We've built a kind of, like, if you want to say DNA, I don't really like using those words. We've built a way of playing that seems like that's the Spurs way, and then we bring in pragmatists and defensive style managers who don't believe in keeping the ball and maybe like catch teams on the break. Like so like that's not going to work, right? Like, why would that work? You've got teams and players that you build a style and a culture over a long time. Pochettino did that. It was a real bummer when it didn't work. So obviously there was going to be a bad little period. People were going to like coming down off getting to Champions League finals. There might have been that kind of culture of failure that's set in. And I definitely believe a lot of those players don't believe that they're ever going to win things. But then all it is a case of get rid of those players, the players who are not working, the players that like are just constantly season after season having unforced errors, making us like making us constantly have the lowest, like the worst defense in the league while we have the best attack. How many seasons in a row have we had the best attack, worst defense, and then we're ended up fourth or overachieving? And so it's just a case of like give the managers the players they want, and none of these managers have got the players they want. So it's always Levy's fault. It's always whoever's making the signings. They never give managers what they want. They don't allow managers to come in and just kick anyone out. For some reason, they're like, no, these are our boys. You're not touching. They're not getting rid of them. And then some players are con men who just like, they speak multiple languages and they go under the radar. They like make everyone love them and then they get back in, so that's how they exist. Until someone comes in and goes, I'm not going to manage unless I can just build my team, and they're never going to get rid of Harry Kane. That's going to be one of the attractions, is to come and manage Harry Kane. That's going to be a massive attraction. They're not going to get rid of players like Kulusevski, one of the best wingers on the planet. They're not going to get rid of Son, who's had like some of the best numbers in Europe year after year after year. These are the only reasons managers will come. Do not get rid of those players. Get rid of the shit that has unforced errors every season. Dyer has the most unforced errors all the time. How can we possibly think that we are ever going to be able to do anything good with those players? So we keep moving the goalposts of who we want to blame. It's just stay there. Levy and the shit defenders. Levy, shit defenders. There's no other blame. Yeah. Then the blame after that, because managers don't just go, it's this asshole player or it's this player, like until eventually Conte does. And he only does that because he wants out. He does not want to stay another moment longer. Who goes and jumps on a Ryanair flight to get the hell out of the country? Like that guy, he wanted out.
But to be fair to Conte, he kept saying time and time again in press conferences, I've told the board, I've told the club my feelings, my thoughts, I've told them everything. They know exactly my feelings. They know this, they know that. Did we act upon it?
I mean, we just never know what he was telling him, because one minute he's like, I've told them. And then the next minute he gets asked, because, the questions will come straight after each other. So what the two journalists asking questions would ask. They ask about his signings and then or who he wants. And then they ask about Eric Dyer or this defense. And he would never say anything. He would be like, I've told them what I want.
He was trying to protect them. He was trying to protect them because he needed performances out of them.
I get that. But then, eventually you're going to like kind of protect. Maybe if you just said, look, Eric Dyer could be good, but he needs like a mental coach. He needs attention study. Like he needs to like be better in certain ways. He doesn't have to be a cunt when you're hacking players out. You don't have to be, it doesn't have to go crazy on them, but he just says, look, certain players are addicted to make certain types of mistakes. And we need to he could be a great player if we fix that element. But he would. He would say things that would annoy the shit out of fans. He would say things like, Dyer could be world class. And then that makes us go, is this guy crazy? And the fact
to be
that
fair, he was a few months after he said that.
Yeah. he would never, like, so it's this, it's not just, it's the inability to change in games. It's when Southgate would do it for England in the final of the Euros, people went mental just sitting watching a coach freeze up, not making any changes when he had to make a change, and then bang, they lose a goal. And that would happen with Conte. We have to get a goal here. Okay, take off Kulusevski, put Sanchez on. Like, insane, right? So we can't sit here and go like, the amount of times I've watched Spurs and just been like, this is a dreadful strategy. How we're playing, this is a dreadful strategy. Like, we have dreadful defense. We're asking teams to come on us. The only teams this works against is teams who take that bait, like Man City, who are so egotistical they think they're just going to roll over us. We catch them on the break. Like, every other team just sits back and then boom, Spurs are dog food. So the fact that he didn't click on that early, that you have to realize. And so what I think's happened is players in the dressing room are going, when's this old cunt going to realize this doesn't work for us? We are a top-heavy team. If you're a football player, you know where all your best players in the park are. And I think every one of those players know that they're all up front. They're all like, they all want to push. They all want to attack. And yet they're all like depressed every single game, having to sit back. And they're probably drilling defensive things every week to make them better defensively. Meanwhile, they're all really good at attacking. They want to go out there and fight. So I just don't think for the life of me, like I've wanted to give and like Conte, like I've wanted to give him so much time and I've wanted to support him. Like genuinely, I've really wanted to support him. But for me, it just does not work. Like dreadful tactics, refusing to change, refusing in any way to move just a little bit. So now obviously it's scary because even though he's got this one tactic, it's still what would work sometimes. Like it would make us at times hard to beat, and then the rest of it is mentality. Being 3-1 up in a game, like sure, he's not on the pitch, but being 3-1 up, everyone dropped into a 5-4-1, and he said that he didn't tell them that, but he created the strategy of 5-4-1 in this club. He got everyone to play like that, for Son to drop back, to make that kind of 5-4-1. He did that. So they obviously think that when it's a case of just see out a game, they think, boom, go to Conte's 5-4-1. He's surely going to want us to do that. Meanwhile, he's going like, go what? Go that attack, But it's like, no, don't shout attack. You have Dan Juma on the bench. The attack is tired. It's 70 minutes. Put attacking players on. Try to do something. Tell them to change to 4 at the back. Like, what are you talking about? Don't like. So for me, I don't buy it. I don't buy that Conte is this great manager who like had an incredible system, and these players were just they couldn't do it. I feel like the defense was not good enough to play his system, and he didn't change. He didn't do anything. So then that over time slowly broke down the players who realized we cannot keep playing that way. We've gone out against Sheffield United. We've gone out against a really bad, Forest against a really bad Inter Milan team. His shit's not working. And
would the better way forward not be get defenders to make his system work rather than get rid of his system?
100%. That's what should have happened. And he should have said, like, what's wrong with these managers? Like, have some balls, man. Like, go into meetings going, I will not work another day unless you bring me Gavardia or Bastoni or who I want. Why did he go, here's my idea? Hey, you go and here's my, it's like, tell them. Like, stamp your authority. What are you doing? Like, do you not have any authority? So I think then that we're giving way too much credit to managers then, because they clearly have no authority. Like, so how can this little bald prick control people like that? Like, they should be able to stand up to him. And if he wants to fire Conte early on, that's where Conte should have done it. It was like, no, like this summer, he should have been like, these are the defenders I want. So for me, I feel like if he didn't do that, then it's up to him. He started this season with a totally trash defense other than Romero. So I just don't think, unless we're saying that, unless we're saying Conte is like a really weak guy who allows Daniel Levy and Paratici to walk all over him, which I don't think can be true. I think Conte kind of was okay at times with the signings and with what he had. And then slowly but surely he was seeing, Jesus, these guys just don't have it. He obviously got tricked by Dyer. He has like 5 good games at the end of last season, and he's thinking like, he's my man. I don't need another defender. It does my nuts in, man. It really does my nuts in. So I don't know what's next, but
well, Ryan Mason's probably next.
Ryan Mason is basically like a mini me of, or like a puppet of Levy. So, but the thing is, like, I don't want to like rag on Ryan Mason, because he wasn't a great footballer. Like, he can't be a great coach. A lot of the best coaches alive were never good footballers, So that's not really an argument you can make.
Agreed.
I don't want Ryan Mason to be the manager. Like, I just don't want that at all. I'd rather Poch just came in now, got stuff going, or Enrique just came in now. But I understand the argument of them not wanting to risk their credibilities, come in when it's a shit show, lose top 4, then all of a sudden fans, especially in this fan base, by the end of the season going, oh, Enrique out. Like, that would be crazy. And I wouldn't put it past us. I would, like, our fan base sometimes are not really football people. They're such passive people. They just say any old shit sometimes, like, just drives me a little bit nuts. It's like, look, if we got Enrique, we'd be very lucky because the man is an incredible manager. If any of the names that, like, you guys were talking about earlier with Danny, they'd be great. But I can genuinely see him. I can genuinely see Levy putting some unknown nobody, and then the fans who are going, we don't need a really good manager. We need a young guy, to come in. He's got no experience, but he knows how to spend a very small budget. That's 2 things that don't make any sense. You need experience to be able to spend very little. Like, it doesn't work. We are at the point where we can no longer just go stop the bus right here, bring in a child. Arteta was not a nobody. Arteta trained under Pep. He's a highly skilled manager. He was a brilliant player. Like, we're
Mason's
not
trained under Jose and Conte.
Mason. Well, there you go. Mason in. Ben's got all the answers. Mason in. No, but honestly, look, it's like, in some way, I'd be happy if Mason comes in, we don't get top 4, and then everyone realizes just how much of a colossal asshole Daniel Levy is, because it's his decision. Or he gets someone in, and we give whoever comes in a little bit of a break because he's got to learn and work with this absolute trash defense and try and make something happen to keep us in top 4. But I think the manager bounce, the rejuvenation that you would get if Poch came in to that training, to that dressing room, I think that would be enough to get us top 4. And then everyone might be a little bit buzzing for next season.
Brains,
what do you guys
would you say Conte flopped at Spurs? Would that be your assessment?
No, that would be insane. That would be mental. The fact that he got us in top 4 and the fact that we are in top 4 right now is nothing less than a miracle. But that's how crazy this situation is. He's got this dreadful defense in the top 4. Like, that's crazy. We have, the worst defense of the top 12?
Mm-hmm.
We have the worst defense, and we're in 4th. Like, that's mental. Yeah. That is just straight up balls wacky. But, like, but that's this club. We it's like, rather than just get a manager in who builds his teams from solid defenses, God forbid you give him a solid defense. God forbid you give him a solid defense. Let's rather watch him play a certain style with a team that doesn't fit that style and just watch his credibility go down, watch the team suffer, watch the dressing room turn to shit. That's Daniel Levy working his magic. It's also Paratici. I don't believe Paratici has, other than some decent signings, I don't really believe Paratici has much going for him either. But I wouldn't say go with the shit I say when I'm joking. I wouldn't say burn the whole team down. I would say keep all the good players, Basuma's a great player. We just need to see the best of him. Basuma needs a coach like Poch, like Enrique, someone who looks at him at Brighton, looks at the ways he was combining play, the things he was doing at Brighton, and go, that's the kid that I want in my team. Not someone who, like Conte, who goes, you don't fit my system. You need to learn my system. It's like, okay, well, fine. You've got rid of a great player, but congrats. A Spence comes in, player of the season last year in the championship. All of that is confidence for a young player. You should be going, look, here's what I want you to tear up the wing. I also want you to work on your defense, but I want you to do this. Not, you weren't my signing. Fuck off. That's a Conte way. And we heard that when it was at Chelsea. So a big part of management is coming in and winning over the dressing room. That's the first stage of management. It's not coming in, give me the best team on the planet, and I'll win you things. That is not good management. The first stage of management is walking at the dressing room, eye contact with players, and creating something. So for me, Conte didn't do that. And so that's one of the biggest reasons. So I say you get someone in. Enrique is brilliant at that. Like Poch, it's easy for Poch to do that. So I think Poch coming in is an answer, because I don't think would Levy risk not giving Poch a great team? Would he risk not backing him the second time round? Like
I think you know the answer to that one.
Then I think we burn the stadium down. So then everyone gets what they want.
Start ordering some napalm brains, I'm saying.
Yeah, dude. I'd say one more. Levy's got. This is like, for me, it's like Levy has one more chance, even though he doesn't have any chance with me. But like, this is his last chance to learn, and I think it's harder for him if he brings in Poch, because then if he brings in Poch and he screws it up, like, come on.
Surely he's had his last chance. He should have. This Conte was his last chance.
This guy has bloody 20,000 lives, Daniel Levy.
You would have thought Conte was his last chance, but then it's kind of like Conte makes it difficult, and he doesn't back Conte, but then Conte makes it difficult by not having all the players on his side and not being a lovable guy. Like, the thing about Poch is he has a lovable cunt. Enrique, he's a lovable cunt. Like, it's hard. Like, I just think it was easy for fans to start going off Conte. It was watching bad football. No fans, fans who are saying on the show, like, you know, don't go to the stadium, don't go to the games. That's just so not realistic. If you've got a season ticket, or if you love the team, you love watching live football, like, you're going to go to the games. You love it too much not to go to the games. So why not just bring an attacking manager in, let us watch great football and rejoice in that, rather than like we're going and we're watching Conte every time before the games, like in the bar before the games. Everyone was just so nervous. Like, what team is Conte going to put out? Like, how are these players going to play today? You know, we were always just so nervous. So I just want an attacking manager to come in, and we just have a go, and we just start playing attacking football, and then we go into the market, and we actually, because like in the last couple of windows, Spurs actually have spent.
Yeah.
So I think now with Poch is the right time for Poch to come back. Give Poch a 60 million player. Give Poch like the budget you just gave there to Conte. So I think the problem with Conte and throwing it all on Levy is that, like, the Talk Sports and the world and Sky and all that, they always go, well, Levy did back Conte. Levy did do this, because on paper it looks like he did. And so that's why it makes it hard. There's still so many Spurs fans who don't believe that Levy is at the fault of everything. Like, I think I've grown to realize that we're a minority. We're actually a minority who believe that Levy is the Dr. Evil of this, And then it's easy for them lot to go, oh yeah, it's the managers, or it's, we all know that it's Levy. Like I guess everyone who watches this show, everyone who kind of like speaks a lot in the kind of Spurs community, other than Butler, fuck him. Just kidding. I love good old Shawnee Cuntler. But yeah, I think Conte didn't play it right, and I think it was easy then for the perception that made like kind of fans go with Levy on this one and think it wasn't all his fault. But it's just a situation. I hate mourning about Levy because we know that that's not going to change unless they sell the club. We just know it's not going to change, you know. But I think
that's the problem.
You would have to believe that this has been a colossal fuck up now. Again, like 2 great managers in a row, it's been a colossal fuck up. You know, get it right this time. Just get an attacking manager, someone who puts their arms around players, because quite clearly we do have a dressing room of pussies, and sometimes you just do. Like pro players these days, a lot of them just are woke little bitches. A lot of them just are pussies. So you do kind of have to put your arms around them and say, hey, buddy, you're going to be great. I love you. You know, like, show daddy you can do it. Like, that's unfortunately what it is like for a lot of football players. What you don't do is you don't sideline them. You don't buy them, and then they come on and score on their debut, and then you sideline them for no reason. That's how you kill players. So at Spurs, we're a little bit weird. Like, we don't put our arms around players, and we murder their careers. Where's Jed Spence now? Murdered. Dan Juma trying to murder him in 6 months. So yeah, like we can't manage like that. So for me, this has all come down to it is a bit of Conte's fault, and we need to get a better manager in. It's not Mason. You know what? For the time being, fuck it, put Mason in. Let's see what fucking happens.
Big up, Brains. Thanks for coming on today, my friend. And we got
Kaylee Davis.
Kaylee Davis with the super chat says, Brains dropping many truth bombs today. So big up yourself, Brains.
Word up. About to go hang myself and jump off the roof now.
Please check in with Brains after the stream.
Peace.
See you later, man. A few more super chats as well. Matt Card, member for 19 months with the members chat, says, big up, boys. Thank you. Thank God for this therapy. Catman Jess says, member for 19 months. Big ups, Ben and Sim. Get Poch back and Kane stays. Come on, you Spurs. And let's go on to our next guest, who is Alexander.
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Alexander, how are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Avoiding the temptation to reach for the razor blades, but you know.
Talk me through your what you're thinking about Conte at the moment.
I think he's sort of made a rod for his own back. I had a thought this morning, which was that if you look at how we've played all season, we've been shit all season, let's be honest. Even the games where we've won, no one's enjoyed the matches. Even the players look like they're not enjoying themselves. And I had a thought this morning that maybe you could even say that the players that went through pre-season and thought, hang on, I don't fancy this very much. All this running around, all this hard work.
Yeah, you know, you say that though, but like we're still sitting in fourth. We finished fourth last season. I mean, the guy's like hitting his targets, isn't he?
Well, I think it's partly because as much as we, malign some of the players, is we do actually have a fairly decent squad. Okay, we all know that we've got players, for example, like Dyer, that make lots of mistakes and need to be upgraded on. But in many positions, look, we've got two of the best. We've got England's best ever striker. We've got Asian Player of the Year in Son Heung-min. We've got Richarlison plays for Brazil, and he,
and we're third for goals scored in the league.
And we are, but our defense is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
But I think part of that is Conte's management of them. I mean, he's had them now. They've had those three main players that you could say are the first choice. He's had them now for the best part of 18 months, and they just get. They haven't really improved. There was an initial uptick.
You can't polish a turd, Alexander, as the old saying says.
I mean, it's true, but okay. So I used to be a teacher. If I went into my head of year or head of department and said, "Oh, look, these kids I've got, what a bunch of thickos,"
Mm-hmm.
nothing I can do, that wouldn't cut the mustard. They'd
Yeah,
say,
that
well, your
wouldn't-
job.
Yeah, but if you go into a classroom and there's a kid who's been held back for 5 years in a row and he gets held back for a sixth and then you get blamed for it.
Very good comeback. Very good comeback.
Would you say, yeah, it's all my fault?
No.
Or would you say,
Okay,
no, he's
fair
been
point.
held back for 5 years. It's not my fault he gets held back for a sixth.
Look, I don't think I don't think Conte. Let's come back to Conte. That's a good point. You got me there. So coming back to Conte, I think he's, like Brains was saying, you bring in someone like Jed Spence. Okay, he wasn't his signing, but he doesn't have to go public with that. That doesn't help anybody. Doesn't do anything. It doesn't help the player. It doesn't help the club in any way for that to be known. It's just basically, making some point that really is best to remain in private.
But
So
Conte thought Spence was clearly not ready. We've seen in his time at France as well that he's got big defensive flaws in his game. Being a young player, it's expected. And by him not playing, the consequence was the press constantly, the fans constantly asking questions about Jed Spence. So what was he supposed to say if he doesn't want to play?
but he could have said, this is a player we've signed for the future, and that would have put it to bed. Okay, he's not for right now, but we think he's going to be a good player. He didn't have to basically say, he essentially said, I wouldn't have signed him, and that's not very helpful.
I think he also said that Jed Spence has a big future. He did say that, didn't he?
I mean, he might have done. I don't know. I mean, but the other thing is, he also said that he was happy in the summer with the players we signed. With caveat about Spence being not someone necessarily that he chose, but he said he was happy. And if you look at the players that he's signed, he hasn't got a tune out of anyone. Okay, you can maybe say that it was just the luck of the draw that we got. We're left holding the. I don't know what the expression is, but
yeah.
with Perisic.
To be fair, with the new signings, right? Richarlison's had his injury problems. Bissouma's had his injury problems. Fraser Forster's stepped in pretty well. Perisic for the first half of the season was pretty good. And yeah, I think that he's been pretty unlucky, to be honest, with the signings that he has brought in. The ones that he brought in January have both kicked the ground running in Bentancur, Kulusevski. But you needed to give him a proper defence. You can't hire Antonio Conte or Jose Mourinho, for that matter, and not build from the back.
Yeah, I think maybe he thought he could get away with it, but I think it's pretty clear from that we couldn't get the player that he wanted. We signed Longley. You can't argue. We've seen what he does with a player he didn't want, that he says was a club signing. He doesn't play them. So presumably he was quite happy with Longley. And and to be fair to Longley, he's okay. He's not particularly, there's not a huge difference between him and Ben Davies. Neither should really be first choice, but they're not bad players.
Yeah, but they're not bad players. This is why we're in top four. You know what I mean? Like we're not in mid-table, but the fact of the matter is we got top four last season. He wanted to push on, and we're not going to be able to push on while we have these defenders.
I think that was just a question of who was available. Look, we've got players like Sanchez. Okay, so part of the problem is if you want to look at Spurs, we've got so many bloody problems. Yeah. And the biggest one is the squad management, because we've got 8. Let's not forget we've got 8 senior players on loan. Mm-hmm. And okay, 2 of those ostensibly might be players that we're keeping, but the rest of them is just essentially because we can't sell them, and that has a huge effect on what we can do in the transfer market, because there's also other players that we would like to sell. I'm sure if we could have if someone had come in for Sanchez in the summer, we would have bitten their hand off to get rid of him. But nobody wants these players because they see that no one in the Premier League is going to buy them because they've already seen that they're not good enough for the Premier League, and we can't just keep signing player after player after player and having.
Right, but they're okay. But then you have to hire a manager who's more suited to dealing with what he's got, rather than needing very specific elements to fit his team. and that's what Conte needs.
I mean, look, I think that's a bit of a cop out to say. I mean, for the people that defending Conte, to say, oh, he needs to go out and have very specific players for his system. In the sense, and he's this world class manager. Well, I don't think you can say the same things. I think he's either he's someone who because to say, oh, I must have these, I must go out and spend, I don't know, like £100 million on a striker like Lukaku, or whatever it was he spent on Hakimi. He wants to buy very expensive players. There's also players. Okay, there are examples of people like what's his name, Victor Moses, where he's improved players, but he seems to be like, okay, well, you're not good enough. Okay, on to the next one. Well, that's easy. Virtually anybody can do that. Can say, well, this person's not good enough. I'll go and sign the best player in the world in their position to take their place. That doesn't make you a great coach. It's just it's obvious.
No, but he's tried to work with what he's got, and he's not able to push the club to where he wants to go. Is essentially the issue, and it's not. I don't think it's his fault that he's not in a title challenge with Dyer and Davis and Sanchez at the back.
Well, I think also that I think we have to allow for the fact that we couldn't get our first choice centre back in the summer, and he presumably didn't want to get someone else in to spend that money on a different player and not. So the idea was to go back again in the summer for him. And take a stopgap for a year on loan. I think it's pretty clear that he's signed off on that. So he can't complain. I haven't got the defenders if he was happy to take. And he's publicly said,
All right, fine. If you're gonna sign stopgaps for the year, then don't be surprised when we stagnate for a year.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. Well, yeah, I'm not defending Conte. I don't. I'm not saying that he. That he's blameless in this, or that he's been foisted with a particular situation. I think he's has a large part of the responsibility for what's going on. It's his job. He can say that the players have a bad attitude and they don't want to work for the team. Well, that's his job, is to make them motivated, and they can't. It's not like they could look at him and say, "Well, why are we following the instructions of this old duffer who doesn't know what he's doing?" He does have a reputation, and rightly, if you look at his record, as being one of the most successful managers in the game. So they, I understand it's not easy to always to always be on top of your game. That's why.
But at what point do the players start to take responsibility for themselves?
Well, I think a lot. Well, this is the question. We don't know what goes on in the background, but we can see that. I mean, I don't know why, particularly with the game against Southampton, why he was particularly disturbed in terms of the performance. Because, okay, the second. I'm trying to think. The second goal that they scored was not the best defensively, but it's one of those things. Like everybody understands. Again, it comes down to the fact that Perisic has just, we've got him when he's gone into that place of going into a rapid decline, and no one could have predicted that he was going to fall off so sharply. He's not like he's 36 or 37. He's what, 34 or 35?
Yeah, 34.
So, and he was the
for a wing back in the Premier League to get up and down that pitch, it takes a lot.
No, I agree with you, but he, if you statistically you look at it, apparently last season he was the fastest player in Serie A last year or something like that, or in his position or something similar. So there's no, I think everyone can look at things with hindsight and say, oh, this player's not good enough or that player's not good enough. But look at I just think we've played boring football. The players don't look interested. They haven't looked interested for quite some time. And a lot of that is, again, I don't really know why this has blown up now. Unless, basically Conte's just angling to get given the elbow and so he can stay in Italy after the international break. But yeah, I don't think there's a what do you call it? I don't think there's a big reason why that would come up now.
Who do you want next, Alexander?
Who do I want next? Okay, so there's who do I want next? I would like us. I don't really want it to go back to Pochettino. Although I would obviously I'd give him a chance if he came back, but I don't think that's a particularly good idea. I'd like to see us go for someone like this guy from Argentina from River Plate, Gallardo. I think we're a club that we need to bring somebody in who's got a clear, an up and coming manager, not someone who thinks that they're doing the club a favor, or someone who thinks that they're at the pinnacle of the game and that everything has to go their way. Someone who is willing to compromise, someone who's willing to work with younger players. And basically work with that. That's our club. That's what, whether we like that as fans or not, we understand. Like, we did spend a lot of money this year, certainly by the historical standards of the club. And so, okay, it's true. But we have to accept we aren't a club. We can't go out and spend every year £200-300 million. I mean, this fantasy football that's going on at Chelsea, that's not gonna. We don't have the money to do that, but B, they can't do that again. If their players that they've bought just now don't work out, they're going to be in real problems. They're going to be in the same problem we are now of having expensive players like Ndombele that they can't get rid of. So we have to accept that we, as a club, we don't have a a petrol pump that's funding us. So we have to cut our cloth accordingly. And I think we can still. I'd rather watch exciting football, knowing that there's only so many teams that can win. So as long as we're competitive and we are playing exciting football, for me that's if you like, I'll be happy with that. I don't think we can we demand that we must win or we must do it this way. And I think also the fact that certain clubs, and not just in the Premier League, but also outside of in places like Germany or even Italy now with Napoli, showing that you don't have to be a traditionally big club and go out and spend a fortune to win things. It's just about having a good manager and creating the right team environment. And for whatever reason, Conte plus the players we've got plus the board we've got is just it's just like a bad combination. And the same with Mourinho, and these are, and let's not forget as well, because everyone likes to criticize Levy, and you can say that I think it's fair to say, well, why did he appoint these two in the first place? But it's not as if managers like Mourinho and Conte, create the Garden of Eden wherever they go, and it's just at Spurs that there's all these problems and recriminations and ending with toxic atmospheres and environment and work environments. That's their pattern of behavior. So you can say maybe it was a bad idea to get them in the first place, but it's not really the board's fault if they behave according to an established pattern.
Well, then, but surely that's exactly why the board should have known if it's an established pattern.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. I think that's a fair criticism of the board.
And usually at other clubs they have trophies to go with it, but not here.
Yeah, I mean, that's also a fair criticism of the board, that you have your 2 or 3 years of nonsense with these guys, but at least you win something. But with us, I think the thing is, I think our if you look at our peak team, which is the team that got us to the Champions League final, well, I'd say actually it was probably actually the year before that was our peak team when we finished
last
second
season at White Hart Lane.
Yeah, the last season at White Hart Lane, and I think we didn't really replace Dembele. Ericsson lost interest after the Champions League final, and we were sort of that Champions League final sort of disguised the decline that had already begun. And I don't think I'm saying anything
100%.
that we don't already know. But So when those players that came in, because if you take someone like Conte, like when he went into Chelsea, they had a team full of great players, and so it was relatively straightforward for him to give them a kick up the arse, and they won the league. Whereas with us, we had a team that, on paper, everyone thought this is a great team. This is a team that's just finished just lost the Champions League final, but actually we were already on the downward slide, and our team was nowhere near as good as it was thought to be, because the better of the players, the Yans and the Tobys, they were at the tail end of their career, so they were getting worse. And again, they're players we haven't replaced, the same as we have, and that's the core of our team, the centre backs, Dembele in the central midfield, and the only one we've still got, or is either side of that, is the goalkeeper. Again, Hugo Lloris is looking like he's at the tail end of his career, and Harry Kane is, what is he now, going to be 30 in the summer? Yeah. So it's not. That's why I think we need to, as fans as well, we need to be realistic and be whoever comes in next. And I would say something in defence of Ryan Mason, because he seems to get, people sort of start pulling their hair out whenever his name's mentioned. He actually did okay when he was our manager last time. And I don't think anyone's suggesting, I'll sort of say jokingly that we should give him the job. But I don't think anyone's seriously suggesting that he should get the job. But as an interim manager, I think he won, 4 out of 6 games. That's not too bad. That's the Premier League record. And he is considered a bright coaching prospect by coaching professionals. So I don't think
Daniel
he's
Levy.
And by Daniel Levy. But the thing is, it's possible. Wouldn't it be great if within the ranks of our coaching staff we had one of the country's best young managers to be? That would be something to celebrate, no? So maybe we should look at it more optimistically. He hasn't done, I don't think he's done anything to show that he's out of his depth. And he at 29, that's very young for a coach. The only person who's managing at that age is Tuchel in Germany. Was at, I think, 29 when he got his first job, and that was a full-time job. So sometimes a 29-year-old can be good enough for him. And Mason now is 31. So I think if we want to get if the club, knowing what goes, we don't know exactly what goes on, but if the players have all knocked on Daniel, or called him because they're all on international duty, but if they've all texted Daniel Levy and said we're not going to work for this guy anymore, he can't keep him. At the end of the day, he's got to get rid of him. And if there's no one, if the person he wants either doesn't want to take over now or isn't available now, then maybe Ryan Mason's the best option in a difficult situation, and one who, he does love this club. He does know what the fans want to see, and we did play, like, we all remember it, or I certainly remember it, that when he took over from Jose, of course, he was on a hiding to nothing with the cup final, but the style of play instantly and dramatically improved. When Mason,
Alexander, we're just going to have to wait and see how it all pans out. But I do fully expect Mason to be the interim from now until the end of the season. But thanks for coming on today, my friend.
All right, all the best, guys. Take care.
Cheers, mate. Bye-bye. Anyone else? All right, so that is that for today. Another day in paradise, in Tottenham paradise. Another nearly 3 hours of therapy for you guys. We'll be back again very soon. Obviously, any time any news breaks, we'll be right here to give you the news every step of the way. At the moment, there has been no change. Conte is still officially our manager, and we'll have to wait until any news drops. But thank you, everyone, for joining us today. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always,
come on, you Spurs.